Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
Hello and a very good afternoon to you. You are listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM. Chris Baldwin here with you for the next 4.5 hours with the best unrivaled football coverage on the air and online. And we have an action-packed edition for you this afternoon, including 2 matches in the Premier League. Sheffield United anchored to the foot of the Premier League table. They are at home to an out-of-sorts West Ham, who were dumped out of the FA Cup in midweek by Championship outfit Bristol City. They kicked off just a few seconds ago, currently goalless, and we'll be hooking up with our reporter Matt Key very shortly for an update on the early exchanges in that match. Further top-flight action later this afternoon down on the south coast of England as Bournemouth play host to Liverpool at the Vitality Stadium. The Cherries have been in fine fettle over the last couple of months as their season has transformed. Jurgen Klopp will be hoping his side can pick up another 3 points to extend their lead at the Premier League summit. Kickoff is at 5:30 p.m. and Andrew Bonacore will be across that match for us here on Football Live. Further details of all of today's coverage are coming up, but let's head straight now to Bramall Lane, where, as I said, they kicked off about a minute or so ago. Let's get all the latest news. Sheffield United's encounter with West Ham, and we say a very good afternoon to Matt Key.
Good afternoon to you, Chris. Good afternoon to our Football Live listeners. And yes, we're at Bramall Lane here, rock bottom Sheffield United against West Ham, who, as you mentioned, Chris, are in a bit of up and down form, flying in the league and in Europe, but disappointing result in the FA Cup. See them exit that competition in midweek. And history is on West Ham's side in this fixture. They're very dominant over Sheffield United. They'll be looking to continue that here. But Chris Wilder's side desperate to pick up any points and get themselves closer to that safety margin. Go through the latest odds for you via NairaBet. West Ham, the favourites for an away win at 2.50, the draw at 3.40, and Sheffield United at 2.80. We've just kicked off here. Sheffield United have won a throw-in deep in West Ham's territory, so going to be looking to launch it in, see if they can create something early doors. But West Ham, fiercely defensive, one of the best defensive records in the league this season. You expect an away win here, but in the Premier League, you just never know. We're 2 minutes in, and it's Sheffield United 0, West Ham 0.
Thanks very much, Matt. And any developments in that game, you will hear them here, right here on Football Live on Brilla FM. Now, of course, the Africa Cup of Nations continues today, where Morocco have just kicked off their Group F encounter with the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Atlas Lions got off to the best possible start to the tournament after comfortably beating Tanzania in their opening match. Let's cross to Football Live reporter Ryan Benjamin for all the latest on the early action from the Stade Laurent Pokou. Very good afternoon, Ryan.
Good afternoon, Chris. Yeah, a host of well-known faces line up for Morocco, who are playing a 4-3-3. The likes of Ashraf Hakimi starts at right back, Nine Agard and Roman Saïs are the 2 centre-backs. Sofian Amrabat will be patrolling the midfield, will be well-known to Premier League fans as well, and the dangerous Hassim Ziyech will be on the right with Sofiane Boufal on the left. The DR Congo will be playing a 4-2-3-1. Their former Newcastle centre-back Chancellor Mbamba, and ex-West Ham full-back after Masuaku playing at left-back. The danger man is Brentford's Johan Visser, who scored in the 1-1 draw with Zambia on match day 1. It should be a decent game. Morocco started pretty well, and we're about 2 minutes in, coming up to 3 minutes, with this Group F match day 2 game.
Yeah, Morocco, as I say, got off to a great start, and certainly, of course, will be, you would imagine, challenging for the title in a few weeks' time. Certainly, obviously, in the betting markets before the tournament started, they were among the favourites. But it is a wide open tournament, isn't it? As always, the Africa Cup of Nations. There are further matches taking place today in the competition. Of course, Zambia taking on Tanzania in Group F. They kick off at 6 p.m. and one match in Group E as well this evening, where South Africa cross swords with Namibia. Kickoff there is at 9 p.m. and a little bit later on we'll be bringing in John Kane as we reflect on all the action that's taken place so far in the Africa Cup of Nations. Elsewhere here on Football Live, today's Scottish FA Cup fourth round coverage too. And what a fairy tale story this is. Bucky Thistle of the Highland League. They travel to play Scottish football giants Celtic. It's going to be a memorable occasion for Thistle supporters. Kickoff is at 5 p.m. and we'll bring you all the news as it unfolds from Celtic Park. Also coming up on this edition of Football Live, as always, we'll bring you coverage from the top European leagues, including the Bundesliga, where our featured match is at the Allianz Arena as title-chasing Bayern Munich entertain Werder Bremen. Thomas Tuchel's side needing a win to close the gap at the top of the table on leaders Leverkusen, who, of course, took all 3 points in that 5-goal thriller at Leipzig yesterday. Kickoff at the Allianz Arena is at 3:30 p.m. There has been a goal in the Africa Cup of Nations.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's gone the way of the form book because Morocco have taken the lead. It's Morocco 1, the Democratic Republic of Congo 0. The goal coming in the 6th minute there from Ashraf Hakimi. So Morocco 1, Democratic Republic of Congo 0 is the latest score there. And we will get all the details and furnish you with all the details of that goal from our reporter. Of course, covering that match for us this afternoon, Ryan Benjamin, very, very shortly. Just elsewhere here on Football Live this afternoon, well, if ever there was a guaranteed result in football, surely it has to take place in La Liga at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid, where Real host bottom of the table Almeria, who have yet to win this season. That match kicks off at 4:15. And meanwhile, in Serie A, Salernitana, rooted to the foot of the table and in dire need of points. They are at home to Genoa at the Stadio Arecci. Kickoff there is at 6 p.m. So all that to come here on Football Live here on Brilla FM. Make sure you stay with us for the next 4.5 hours or so. It remains Sheffield United 0, West Ham 0 at Bramall Lane. Just past the 7-minute mark there. As I just mentioned, Morocco leading the Democratic Republic of Congo by a goal to 0 in the Africa Cup of Nations. We'll get further reports very shortly from there. But as I mentioned a short while ago, Bayern Munich in action at home to Werder Bremen this afternoon. That's our featured match in the Bundesliga. And across that game for us is our Football Live reporter, Richard Bond. Good afternoon, Rich.
Good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Allianz Arena, where we're about 15 minutes or so away from the clash between second place Bayern and strugglers Werder Bremen. The hosts today will be looking to close leaders Bayern Leverkusen's 7-point lead, top Bundesliga table, and just made one change to their lineup this afternoon, following on from their 3-0 victory over Hoffenheim last weekend. Kingsley Coman comes back in for Thomas Muller, drops the strong bench also containing Cameroon forward Eric Choupo-Moting and new signing Eric Dyer. 6 points above the relegation zone, Bremen will look to carry on their upturn in form, which has seen them unbeaten in the last 5 games. They earned a late point in the 1-0 draw at Bochum last weekend, but this will be a different proposition today against the Munich side who've dropped points in just one of their 8 games here this season, scoring an eye-watering 33 goals in the process. Manager Ollie Werner's side of the task been made a lot harder without being 3 of the key players though. Top scorer Martin Duckscher, midfield duo Leandro Bittencourt were banned, and ex-Liverpool man Naby Keita's at the African Nations. Shaking his lineup, this starts for Leinen, Schmidt in midfield and Wolf Made up top. Bremen have lost 26 of the last 27 head-to-heads in this fixture and winless in 11 games away from home, whilst one defeat in 32 home for Bayern leaves this one a decent option for a bet on NairaBet. If we have a little look at the betting, outright today Bayern are for the win at 1.08, whilst the draw is 2.00. Werder Bremen has expected a long shot at 23. My pick being, though, Bayern Munich to lead at half-time, full-time, and over 3.5 goals in the game. That's 1.95, a little bit of a nice earner. Odds are from NairaBet and are subject to change, though. Looking forward to plenty of goals here. It's Bayern Munich versus Werder Bremen. Yeah, about 20 minutes away.
Thanks very much, Rich. So we'll be across that game for you throughout the duration here on Football Live on Brilla FM. 9 minutes past 3 on this Sunday afternoon. Let's get news of that opening goal for Morocco in the Africa Cup of Nations. Here's Ryan Benjamin.
Yes, an excellent finish from Ashraf Hakimi, puts Morocco 1-0 up. They came in from the corner, and just volleyed it from about 7 yards past the Hadless and Panzinazu in the DRC goal. An excellent finish from Hakimi. It was well controlled. He could have easily tripped, he could have blazed it wide, he could have shinned it, he could have done anything. He gets his head over the ball and sends a nice controlled volley low into the corner to put Morocco 1-0 up with nearly 9 minutes gone.
So Morocco still a goal to the good there in the Africa Cup of Nations in Group F. Well, of course, there was plenty of action yesterday in the Premier League. I say plenty of action, just the two games, of course, because of the mini winter break that we've had here in January. And of course, at the Emirates Stadium, the Gunners firing 5 past Crystal Palace to put themselves back in the frame for the title race. Arsenal up to 3rd in the table, 2 points behind Liverpool. As for Palace, well, Roy Hodgson coming under quite a bit of pressure now, just 6 points from the last possible 30. The supporters getting a bit restless as well. Going to bring in John Kane. John, that was a thumping victory for Arsenal yesterday after a little bit of a wobble at the end of 2023.
Yes, good afternoon, Chris. It was, wasn't it? I think it's a well-needed win yesterday against Palace. People can say that Palace not doing well themselves, but nevertheless, Arsenal needed them 3 points, and they keep them 2 points away from Liverpool, of course, who are playing later on for the time being anyway. So it's a great position to be in for Arsenal, and definitely for Arteta. It was coming a bit of criticism after the last few games. The team not performing well. Their form was more or less 2 loss out of 4 games until yesterday. So that wasn't great for them. But I think with that performance yesterday, they can surely get a big confidence boost out of that.
Yeah, big win for the Gunners as they look to close the gap on Liverpool at the top of the table. Let's just touch on Crystal Palace, though, John, because they are a side in freefall at the moment, aren't they? I think they've only won 1 out of their last 10 Premier League matches. They are getting sucked closer and closer to the bottom 3, and the supporters, obviously, they not in so much in awe of Roy Hodgson, but they have a tremendous amount of respect for the man, of course, because he has delivered the goods in the past. But as I mentioned, he is coming under some serious pressure at the moment.
He is, big time. He's definitely coming on serious pressure. Like I said, the form hasn't been great at all for him lately. It's a bit of catch 2022 with Roy Hodgson, because I think the board are very hesitant in sacking him, and they know the fans love Roy Hodgson, and so is the board. They've got massive respect for him. I think the board now are waiting for Roy Hodgson to step down himself, rather than actually them telling him to leave, or have a chat with him, asking him if he can leave without him being sacked, because he done so much, didn't he, for the club, and to try to get rid of him like we normally do for normal managers is going to be very, very difficult. No one's going to be complaining about it if Palace did sack Roy Hodgson based on the form, especially in yesterday. It was absolutely atrocious, especially in the second half. It's more or less like there was no one in defence-wise. If you watch the goals, it's absolutely remarkable how big spaces there were in the back for Palace. So I think it's just about time Roy Hodgson go. I think it's probably the manner of how he's going to leave is going to be the big issue.
Yeah, and a bit of concern over the injury sustained by Declan Rice yesterday as well. We think it might be a hamstring injury, I believe. I'm going to hear now from Mikel Arteta with an update on that injury news concerning Declan Rice.
No, he was feeling some tightness. I don't know exactly what muscle it was, but when he says that at 3-0, obviously we don't want to take any risk. And the same with Big Gavi as well. He had some discomfort. I think he had a tackle in the first half and he was a bit struggling, so it was the right moment to take him off the field. Absolutely, and as well having the ability to score from many different ways, you know, and especially when you're attacking low blocks teams like this, to score in a certain way everything has to be nailed absolutely perfectly, and when you generate things that are a bit more chaotic, sometimes it opens teams up and it's more difficult to do that. And today I think we exploited that really good because Palace had to change their behaviour, and that allowed spaces for us to exploit.
Yeah, great win for Arsenal, of course, in amongst the goals with 2 very, very late goals deep into stoppage time. Gabriel Martinelli.
Yeah, it was a brilliant performance from the team. I think we needed a game like that. As I always say, I'm here to help the team, even if it's to play 1, 2, 3 minutes. I'm ready, and today I have the the opportunity to score two, and yeah, I'm so happy with the team and the performance as well. It was so important. We know our qualities, and it doesn't matter what people say outside. We know our quality, and we believe in ourselves, and this is what we showed today, and we showed what we can do.
4 goals this Premier League campaign now for the Brazilian. Arsenal putting 5 past Crystal Palace yesterday, and we'll be reflecting on yesterday's encounter between Brentford and Nottingham Forest with John Kane very, very shortly. But let's go around the grounds again now. Of course, action in the Premier League as we speak. They're just past the 15-minute mark. Sheffield United against West Ham. And for an update, here's Matt Key.
Yeah, it's been a good game so far. Chances at both ends, and it's difficult to say who's really in front at the moment. Both teams looking to be positive, looking to be proactive, and as I say, both gone close. First, it was Suso, fired an effort about 25 yards out, straight at Areola, but plenty of power and accuracy behind it. Just needed to be either side of the West Ham goalkeeper. And then Zuma, a header from a free kick, Foderingham saved, but then Sheffield United, this is why they're bottom of the table, make a silly mistake, give the ball away in a big area, and Bowen runs onto it, beats his man. You expect him to do better, someone in such good form, but misses the target. Sheffield United with a big opportunity now though. Gustavo Hamer lining up a free kick from outside the box. He can be deadly from these. We'll have to see if he is from this one. 60 minutes gone, Sheffield United 0, West Ham 0.
And Matt, at the risk of stating the obvious, this is a must-win game for Sheffield United, isn't it? But I guess every game is a must-win game for Sheffield United. But disappointment, really. I mean, Chris Wilder has come in, I think it was early December, wasn't it, when he replaced Paul Heckingbottom. They got off to a decent start when they beat Brentford, I think, in his first match in charge. They got that point at Aston Villa as well. But other than that, little to show for. And, of course, they suffered that really disappointing defeat at home to relegation rivals Luton a couple of weeks ago as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, it was an improvement, and there's no doubt that Sheffield United have improved since Wilder's come through the door. But the facts say it's 1 point from the last 12 available, which just isn't going to cut it in the Premier League, especially when you're already giving yourself a mountain to climb anyway. So big improvements are needed, but 7 out of their 9 points this season have come at Bramall Lane. So there is encouragement there, and as I say, they've not been shy in coming forward so far, not just sitting back and playing for 0-0, because they're already at a stage of the season where 3 points are crucial and 1 isn't going to be good enough. That Hamer free kick, by the way, disappointing in the end, straight into the West Ham wall, and after a long throw in from Sheffield United, West Ham have finally managed to clear their line. So still Sheffield United 0, West Ham 0.
Thanks very much, Matt. So we await our first goal then at Bramall Lane this afternoon. Just looking at the stats again there. They don't look really good, particularly good for Sheffield United. West Ham are on a run of 3 straight wins against the Blades without conceding. And of course, as we know, Sheffield United 7 points adrift as it stands at the bottom of the Premier League table. Last time these two sides met in the reverse fixture back in September, West Ham put 2 past United on that occasion. But a long, long way to go. But as Matt just informed us, there remains goalless. Sheffield United 0, West Ham 0 at Bramall Lane. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM, 18 minutes past 3 on this Sunday afternoon. Still plenty of action to come, of course, for you. Here on Football Live, our featured match in the German Bundesliga kicks off in around about 12 minutes' time. Also, Bayern Munich looking to close the gap on Leverkusen at the top of the table at home to Werder Bremen. Also coming up this afternoon, further action, of course, from the Premier League as well. Down on the south coast of England, Bournemouth taking on Everton at the Vitality Stadium. Andrew Bonacore across that game for us here on Football Live. In La Liga, we've got Real Madrid against Almeria. In Serie A, Salernitana at home to Genoa. And, of course, action 2 from the Scottish FA Cup, 4th round as well. What an afternoon for Bucky Thistle fans. I believe that the novelist Stephen King, who you may have heard of, one of their many supporters as well, apparently. But that's Bucky Thistle. A memorable afternoon it will be for them. Away to Celtic in the Scottish FA Cup 4th round. They kick off at 5 p.m. in that game. And, of course, we have action in the Africa Cup of Nations as well. Group F, Morocco against the Democratic Republic of Congo. They did take an early lead in that game, and they're still in front. Let's cross over now to our reporter Ryan Benjamin.
Yeah, still 1-0 to Morocco with about 18 minutes gone. There's a good tempo to the game. Morocco, of course, won their first game, so they don't have to go all out for the win. DR Congo, they drew against Tanzania. They were quite wasteful in front of goal, and we've seen signs of that today as well. They're really good in transition on the counter-attack, but they tend to kind of rush their finishers quite a bit, and we saw this with Cedric Campbell, the guy I said before, where they had a decent opportunity on the edge of the box, which he snatched at, and they just dribbled wide. But it's a difficult situation for Congo. Do they go for it, go all out for the win, and try and get it back, or do they just try and maybe get a draw and keep it tight and then put it all on that last game? It's an interesting tactical situation for them. Morocco looking fairly comfortable though. 19 minutes gone, still 1-0 to Morocco.
Thanks very much to our reporter there, Ryan Benjamin. Let's bring John Kane back in now as we reflect on the other Premier League match, of course, that was played out yesterday afternoon. Brentford against Nottingham Forest, and it was always going to be in the script, wasn't it, John, that Ivan Toney would mark his return to action in the Premier League with a goal?
No, absolutely. It was predictable, wasn't it? The big man is coming back after a lengthy ban, and he's scoring one of the goals. It was brilliant for him, and it was brilliant to Brentford, who have really been struggling, hasn't he, for a win. 4 losses on the trot until yesterday, and that wasn't good enough for them, wasn't it? And they're 14th, considering that Brentford, everyone was expecting them to be more or less safe and probably even higher than they are at the moment, which are 14th, which is only about 6-7 points ahead above relegation zone. But it's a big win for Brentford. They definitely needed that against an informed Nottingham Forest, who are doing well themselves, and they've got their own problems. But the main thing was actually not just win the 3 points. They got the 3 points and also keep Forest further away from them.
And a lot of speculation, obviously, John, around Ivan Toney. Will he move in the January transfer window? What's your opinion on that one?
It's a very hard one, isn't it? The guy just came in from a lengthy ban, and I think Brentford supported him, didn't they, throughout that period of time. I think it would be, personally, I think it would be a bit disrespectful if he just lead them straight away. And obviously the favourites for that are Arsenal by the looks of it. Wherever I look, it seems like he's going to Arsenal. I think personally, I think what might happen is actually probably wait till the summer, help Brentford go through this patch for the next 4 or 5 months, and then head to another club afterwards. But I can't see him staying at Brentford beyond the summer, to be fair.
Yeah, and that win, of course, for Brentford, as you pointed out, John, a big win for them. It ended a run of 5 consecutive Premier League defeats, just to give them a little bit of daylight between themselves and the bottom 3. Just touching on Nottingham Forest, John, as well, because there's certainly been a change in their fortune since Nuno Espirito Santo took over the helm.
No, absolutely. The guy done very well, didn't he, at Wolves? Literally what Wolves are doing now is partly is because of him, for what he built in that club, maintain them to be middle in the table, rather relegation, scrapping like the rest of them. Obviously, Santo won the league in Saudi Arabia with Al Ittihad last season, and he got sacked early on, and people thought no one was expecting him to come back to the Premier League, but he seems like he enjoys being here after being with Wolves and being with Tottenham, even though with Tottenham was a short period of time. But he's already having that good influence on the club. With all respect to Steve Clarke, I think more or less Steve Clarke's sell-by date is sort of expired in a way, even though he done very well keeping them up last season. But I think probably Nuno Santo is probably the right man trying to lift them up, and surely he's proving that over the last few games.
Thanks very much, John Kane, as we reflected on yesterday's matches that took place in the Premier League. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM. Let's head back now to Bramall Lane. Sheffield United against West Ham. Matt Keegan was saying earlier this was a must-win game for the Blades, and they've come pretty close to breaking the deadlock, I believe.
Oh, it should be 1-0, Chris. It was a huge chance for Sheffield United. Brereton Diaz runs through in on goal. It's his debut for the club. He's been really bright since in the opening 23 minutes, settled in really quickly, but not scored since August and not scored a league goal since May. anyone that watches Blackburn or South American football knows he's such a clinical striker. But he's in on goal and he passes it unselfishly to Asula. But the passes behind him, he can't get the power on the shot, and it's straight at Areola. The flag did go up, but I haven't seen a replay to see if it would have counted or not. It looked really tight. And then Brereton Diaz does get a shot away after a lovely bit of skill from Brooks, nutmegging Soufal, and Brereton Diaz shot this time straight at the goalkeeper. Encouraging signs for Sheffield United, but they've got to be more clinical in the final third. But Chris Wilder will be happy what he's seeing from his team here. 25 minutes gone, still Sheffield United 0, West Ham 0.
From the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brula FM.
Join round the corner where the big boys play.
Who's enjoying AFCON so far? Yeah. NairaBet is increasing your chances of winning with a 500 Naira free bet every day during the African Cup of Nations. With an extra free bet added every time you back the Super Eagles to win. All you need to do is visit nairabet.com, bet on 3+ selections, claim your daily free bet. 18+. Free bet for backing your country applies to only when betting on the day your country plays. Minimum 3 selections, at least 1 selection on AFCON. Minimum odds per selection 1.2. Minimum bet slip odds 1.5. Free bet will be valid for 7 days. General and free bet terms and conditions apply.
Football Live returns next Saturday on the frequency of champions, Brila FM. Ahead of the AFCON knockouts, we will be bringing you the very best FA Cup coverage.
All of the highest standard.
Can Africa-born manager George Elekobi cause an upset as non-league Maidstone United look to spring a surprise at in-form Ipswich Town?
And what a headache.
There are 3 other ties on our watch, including the All-Premier League clash at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United taking on last season's semi-finalists Brighton.
I think I ran back to the halfway line before anybody caught me.
Buckle up for a bit of Bundesliga too. Bayern Munich are in action. Can Augsburg stop Harry Kane and co?
Oh, it's just his studs right down his shin pad, isn't it?
Join us next Saturday, Football Live, back from 1:30 in the afternoon. FA Cup, AFCON, Bundesliga and more. We've got it covered right here, live on Brilla FM.
What on earth is this?
Coming up soon on Football Live, a brand new signing.
It's me. Yeah, Richard Parr.
That's right, a brand new presenter, Richard Parr, will be joining Football Live, exclusive to Brilla FM this February.
Absolutely crazy. Chelsea are playing like champions, so we'd love to get your thoughts as well. Part of me thinks that was all absolutely orchestrated.
Football Live on Brilla FM. You are listening to Football Live on Brilla FM.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
Welcome back. This is Chris Baldwin on Football Live. It is 27 minutes past 3 on this Sunday afternoon. No further goals to tell you about in our 2 featured matches that are currently in play. Sheffield United 0, West Ham 0. And Morocco 1, DR Congo 0. The latest score there. Ashraf Hakimi's early strike in the 6th minute, still separating the 2 sides in that Group F encounter. In fact, I can tell you there has been there has been a goal at Bramall Lane.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Little bit of a delay there, but I can tell you it's bad news for the Blades fans because West Ham have taken the lead there. And let's hear all about it now from Matt Key. Not a good start for Sheffield United, Matt.
No, having had all the possession, all the chances, they find themselves a goal down. And it's classic West Ham this season, soaking up the pressure and scoring on the counter-attack. It's a bit scrappy in the build-up, but it's a fantastic finish from Maxwell Cornet. His first goal for the club. It was Soufal who laid it back down to Fornals. He looked to get a shot away. It was blocked. And then Sheffield United players just fell asleep. And there was Cornet at the back post. And the ball dropped to him. And first time, really good finish this. Volley with his left foot. Difficult one as the ball was coming down, but finishes low and hard past Fodringham. There was a question of offside. Sheffield United players with their hands in the air, but I've seen a replay and it looks all good from here. So it looks like West Ham are taking the lead despite all the Sheffield United's possession. It's Sheffield United 0, West Ham 1.
Yeah, looking very, very grim indeed for Chris Wilder and his side. Sheffield United have now conceded the first goal in 17 of their 22 Premier League matches this season. So it's going wrong at the moment. West Ham leading by 1-0 there. We will be crossing over to Ryan Benjamin very, very shortly for an update on the Africa Cup of Nations Group F encounter between Morocco and DR Congo. Before we go there, let's head back now to the Allianz Arena, where, of course, Bayern Munich are at home to Werder Bremen as we rejoin Richard Bond. And Richard, very interesting signing, of course, a few days. Eric Dyer, Harry Kane's former teammate at Spurs, joining them on loan. A surprising signing, do you think? Will he get the minutes?
Well, it's a good addition, really, for a bit of backup, I think, certainly in this strong Bayern Munich lineup. You know, it's one of those teams, really, where one of those things, where at Tottenham he wasn't really getting any minutes, and for me, it didn't really seem to fit with the manager. He's gone to Bayern now, and yeah, it's a great move for the player. And if he plays well, he'd be looking to try and force his way into the squad for the next summer's Euros. So I think it could work out well for both parties. You know, if you lose. There was talk this afternoon about Delight and Upper Camano as having knocks coming into the game, so he could have slotted in quite nicely there with I think another one of their players on AFCON duty. So yeah, I think it's a good signing.
That's Rich Bond covering Bayern Munich against Werder Bremen. A good signing, according to our Football Live reporter there. They are about a minute or so into the game there. Bayern Munich against Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga. And any goal news from that match, you will hear it first here on Football Live on Brilla FM. Just to remind you as well that coming up in about just over 20 minutes time also, we will be joining FJ and the crew for all of your social media comments on all the action that's taken place this weekend, not only in the Premier League, of course, but elsewhere as well. I'm sure you've got lots to say. So that's FJ and his team coming up at about 3:55 on this Sunday afternoon. Let's head back now to the Stade Laurent Pokou for an update on Morocco's clash with DR Congo in the Africa Cup of Nations as we rejoin Ryan Benjamin.
Yeah, 30 minutes gone. The players have just came back from the cooling break, taking on some water and putting some wet towels and what have you over their heads so they don't get too hot. And it's probably for the best because things did get a little bit heated on the pitch. Gael Kakuta, the former Chelsea youngster who's now at Amiens, was on the receiving end of a tackle from Sofiane Amrabat, which he didn't like. And there was a little brawl, a bit of pushing, a bit of shoving, and he had to be calmed down by his teammates. He's trying to get on the ball and make things happen now. But it was a much needed break, I think, for the players. There hasn't been much chances since then. DRC really good on the counter, but again, when you get into the final third, they just can't seem to make that final pass. They can't seem to, really get the shot away when it's really needed. They need to improve on that if they're going to cause Morocco any real problems. So yeah, about 31, 32 minutes gone, still 1-0 to Morocco.
So Morocco still a goal to the good in that game. You're listening to Football Live. There was a result in the Championship a little bit earlier on today, and a very significant one at that as well. At Ellen Road, Leeds United beating Preston by 2-1. Preston had taken the lead in that game early on in the second minute through Will Keane. That was cancelled out with an equaliser from Daniel James in the 6th minute. And then 3 minutes into stoppage time from the penalty spot, João Perreault scored to give us a final score of Leeds 2, Preston 1. And as I said, a huge result for Leeds United because it moves them now up onto 54 points, just 4 points behind Southampton, who, of course, won yesterday as well. Southampton currently in second spot in the Championship. It's all shaping up very, very nicely there at the moment. And we, of course, will await with interest to see which two of those sides, or indeed which three of those sides, of course, in the Championship will clinch promotion this season. As I said, Southampton winners at Swansea yesterday by 3-1. a big result for them as well as they keep up the pressure on Leicester at the top of the championship table. It's difficult to see Leicester throwing this away, of course, as they look to bounce straight back to the Premier League, having dropped out last season. Of course, they are 7 points clear on 65 points at the top of the championship at the moment. Ipswich still in the mix as well, level on points with Southampton. That's on 58 points. They're in third spot. They look a very, very good team indeed. I saw them a few weeks ago. Very, very organised. And as I say, Leeds now in fourth spot, or they remain in fourth spot, I should say, just 4 points further back following the huge victory at home to Preston. And then outside of the top four, we have West Brom in fifth place on 45 points, Coventry sixth on 43 points. And then just 3 points further back, we have about another 5 or 6 other teams as well. It's a typical championship season. And of course, we'll be keeping tabs across that throughout the remaining few months here on Football Live on Brilla FM. So in our current matches currently in play, Sheffield United still trailing at home to West Ham by 1-0. Maxwell Cornet with a goal there for David Moyes' side. Morocco still a goal to the good against DR Congo in the Africa Cup of Nations in Group F, and will be around the grounds once again very, very shortly here on Football Live. Plenty of other action, of course, in the top European leagues this afternoon as well. They've played about 3 minutes of our featured match in the Bundesliga. Bayern at home to Bremen, currently goalless there. Borussia Mönchengladbach at home to Augsburg later on this afternoon in a 5:30 kickoff. Let's give you some other latest scores from around Europe and some final scores as well in Serie A. Frosinone 3, Cagliari 1 is a final score. Empoli currently leading Monza by 1-0 with about 7 or 8 minutes remaining of the first half. There, Simon Zukowski with the only goal in that game there for Empoli. And of course, our featured match later on, kicking off at 6 p.m. Salernitana at home to Genoa. And a big game this evening as well, kicking off at 8:45 in Serie A. Juventus away to Lecce. Juventus with an opportunity to go to the summit of Serie A this evening if they can clinch all 3 points. And finally, in La Liga, half-time score to give you, or rather latest score, I should say, Osasuna 2, Getafe 2. They're into the 79th minute of that game. Our featured match, of course, kicking off at 4:15 p.m. Real Madrid at home to Almeria. Barcelona in action later on today as well as they travel to Betis. And a further match taking place in La Liga on this Sunday, kicking off at 9 p.m. this evening. Girona against Sevilla. What a big game that is as well. Real Madrid and Girona, of course, going toe-to-toe for the La Liga title at the moment. So you're up to date with all matters Spanish La Liga. And there is also action too in the Nigerian Premier League as well. Quite a few matches kicking off a little bit later on, and we'll be across those with you with all the latest scores as the goals go in right here on Football Live. Right, let's go around the grounds once again now. And our first port of call will be back to Bramall Lane. Sheffield United at home to West Ham. They were trailing the last time we were with our reporter, Matt Key. Are they making any inroads, any signs that they may grab a goal to get back on level terms here, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. They've still been really bright, to be honest. They were a bit stunned by that first West Ham goal, a bit disheartened, which is understandable. But they've responded really well, as we're just going to see the first booking of the game there is going to be awarded to Gustavo Harmer. West Ham nicked the ball back. He had no choice really, but pulled down Pablo Fornals, and that is the first yellow of the game, and as simple as it gets. But I've been really impressed with James McAtee from Sheffield United, on loan from Man City, and he's really giving this crowd and his team a lift. Some really nice bits of dribbling and enterprise from him. Just needs to find that final ball or bit of end product. Although, to be fair to him, he's just done a really good run down the right hand side, looked up to cross, and there was just no one in the box. Not good enough from that point of view. His teammates almost standing and watching. But yeah, Sheffield United just need to get to half time just the one goal behind. They're still very much in this game, although James Ward-Prowse over a free kick now. And we know that his delivery or shooting is normally deadly from this range, so we'll see if Sheffield United manage to clear. We've got about 5 minutes till half-time, plus whatever's added, but it's still Sheffield United 0, West Ham 1.
I can tell you that VAR are looking into a penalty in the Africa Cup of Nations Group F clash between Morocco and DR Congo. Morocco, of course, leading by a 1-0. We'll bring you further news of that just as soon as we get it here on Football Live on Brilla FM. But a VAR check on a possible penalty in that game. And Morocco, of course, already leading, as we know, by a 1-0. And possibly with an opportunity to extend their lead in that game with that VAR check. In fact, I should say the penalty VAR check is in favour of DR Congo. So with about 4 minutes of the first half remaining, it's an opportunity for DR Congo to get back on level terms in that game. Of course, Morocco going ahead in the 6th minute through Ashraf Hakimi. But we could get an equaliser there. As I said, we'll bring it to you. News of that just as soon as we can here on Football Live on Brilla FM. We'll be crossing back to our colleagues in Nigeria in around about 15 minutes time or so for all of your social media comments. Let's head back now to the Allianz Arena for an update on our featured match in the Bundesliga this afternoon. Bayern Munich at home to Werder Bremen, and on paper, Rich Bond, surely this has got to be 3 points for Bayern this afternoon.
Well, it should be, really. If you look at all the stats, you'd think Bayern Munich would be outright favourites. There's so many goals, unbeaten against Bremen in so long, so many games. But so far, it's been quite even. You know, they've had a lot of possession, Bayern, in the start. They haven't really threatened too much on goal. We've seen Sane have a bit of a half-sighted goal. Musiala put him kind of through on the edge of the box, straight to the keeper. But Bremen now picked up possession, and they're looking quite decent. It's Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 0, 11 minutes gone.
And it's an important game, isn't it, Rich, for Bayern? Because just looking at the table as it stands, as we know, Leverkusen, of course, under Xabi Alonso, what a season they've had. Still unbeaten, but Bayern really need the 3 points this afternoon to close the gap on the leaders at the top.
Yes, definitely. And I think they've got 2 games in hand, but you don't really want to fall too far back points-wise. So today, at home particularly, you could say it's a banker, really, for them. Pressure's on, but you'd think they'd get the 3 points. But yeah, you don't want to fall too far behind, otherwise Leverkusen win next week could pull into double figures, and then it could be the case like last year, like Dortmund. Could it be the season that Bayern don't get the title this year? But we'll see. At the moment, though, it's goalless here. It's Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 0, 12 minutes gone. Yeah, what an incredible season, of course. It was last season in the Bundesliga with Dortmund pipped at the post by Bayern Munich. In the on that final day of the season, absolutely incredible. You couldn't have scripted that. Bayern at the moment currently goalless with Werder Bremen. Any further news from the Allianz Arena, we will bring it to you here on Football Live on Brilla FM. I can tell you that penalty was given to DR Congo, but the penalty, I believe, has been missed. Let's furnish you with all the details now with our reporter Ryan Benjamin.
Yeah, penalty given after a lengthy VAR check. Cedric Makambu steps up, puts the ball off the foot of the post. Bono went the right way, but he probably wasn't going to get there. Again, he's kind of scuffed it. He's hit it kind of with his instep, with his studs a little bit, and it's bobbled off the post and wide. It's still 1-0 for Morocco. That goal would have been massive for the DR Congo to give them a 1-1 draw, maybe possibly going into half time. And Morocco got away with one there. It's still 1-0, 40 minutes gone.
Still currently goalless then. West Ham still leading at Bramall Line by a 1-0. Maxwell Cornet, of course, with the goal for the Hammers. And I can tell you in my earpiece, further goal news coming in from Yorkshire.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Always seems to happen that way. We've got about a minute of the first half remaining. Sheffield United are back on level terms. It's Sheffield United 1, West Ham 1. Let's cross to Matt Key.
Yes, and it's a debut goal for Ben Brereton Diaz. My word, did he and Sheffield United need that. They've brought in a goal scorer and he's made an instant impact. 1 minute to go before half time. He's levelled it up. It's going to be a VAR check on this one. It's very tight. It's Austin Trusty. It's a crossfield pass to the left back who heads it really cleverly into the box. And Ashula gets on the end of it, heads it. Areola makes a fantastic save. But then Brereton Diaz follows in. He wants it more than the West Ham players. He's hungry. He takes a touch and then he rifles it past Areola, who's got absolutely no chance. And I said Sheffield United needed to go in at the break, 1 down. They've done better than that. They've equalised it up. We've got 1 minute till half time and they've got their equaliser. It's Sheffield United 1, West Ham United 1.
Matt, what can you say? What an inspired signing by Sheffield United, acquiring the services of Ben Brereton Diaz, signed on loan, of course, at the start of the month for Villarreal, and as you just pointed out, a terrific start for him in the red and white of Sheffield United.
Yeah, absolutely. Really clever in the transfer market from Sheffield United. They don't have the money of big clubs, so they've spent a lot on Cameron Archer from Aston Villa in the summer. So they've got Brereton Diaz on loan and he scores goals. We know this. If you look at his time at Blackburn Rovers, he's always in the right places, always popping up with goals. One of the best goal scorers in that division for years and years and years. And it's just, can he make the step up to the Premier League? And that is a fantastic start for him. Because other than that, he should have had a shot earlier, squared it to Oshula. But this time, goes alone and he's clinical. He gets one chance, he's put it away, and that's exactly what Sheffield United are going to need. They're not going to have many chances in most games this season, so they've got to make the most of the ones they do get, and it's a great start for Brereton Diaz, and Chris Wilder will be delighted with his new signing. And to be honest, how his team have played in this first half, it would have been harsh for them to go in at the break a goal down. They've been the better side, and I'd say that goal is rewards for how they played in this opening half. We've got 2 minutes of added on time, and it's Sheffield United 1, West Ham 1.
Well, that goal has certainly come at the right time for the Blaze then, just before the break. It might inspire them for a rousing second half performance, who knows, but a really important goal and scored by Brereton Diaz, of course. South American heritage too. 7 goals in 27 appearances for Chile. We know he can score goals, and he is on the score sheet this afternoon for Chris Wilder's side. 1 apiece in that game. They're approaching half-time at the Laurent Pokou Stade, where it remains Morocco 1, DR Congo 0. That early goal from Ashraf Hakimi still separating the two sides. DR Congo, of course, missing a penalty and the chance to get back on level terms just a few moments ago there as well. And it remains goalless in our feature match in the Bundesliga too, between Bayern Munich and Werder Bremen. Bayern Munich 0, Bremen 0 into the 18th minute in that game. In a little under 10 minutes time or so, we will be back with our colleagues in Nigeria. That's FJ and the crew for all of your social media comments. Of course, still plenty of terrific action to look forward to here on Football Live. A little bit later on, Bournemouth at home, of course, to Liverpool in the Premier League, kicking off at 5:30 this afternoon. Action too from La Liga, Real Madrid at home to Almeria, kicking off at 4:15 p.m. Salernitana at home to Genoa in Syria, and Scottish FA Cup 4th round action to Celtic at home to Highland League club Bucky Thistle. Kick-off there 5 p.m. Half-time whistle has gone at Bramall Lane. Here's Matt Key.
Yes, and the home side roared off here by their home crowd. That goal, I know it was just before half-time, but you could tell it just given the team and the crowd a big boost, because as I say, they played really well in that first half and fell behind to that goal from corner. Really well taken, and they could have sunk into their shell, but they didn't. They kept pushing and they got that equaliser through Brereton Diaz. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting game now in this second half. Wouldn't surprise me if David Moyes switched things up early, because they've fed off scraps really. West Ham, Bowen, not really been in the game too much, and yeah, they'd have wanted to be dominant in this game against Sheffield United, and they haven't been so far. So changes maybe from Moyes, but Chris Wilder, say, delighted with the way his team have responded at the end of that first half. Really interesting second half coming up, I think. Could go either way this one, but at half time, it's Sheffield United 1, West Ham 1.
And Matt, just whilst we've got you, just a word on West Ham. I mean, for all intents and purposes, they've had a good season. I mean, as it stands at the moment, 6th in the Premier League, of course, but they would have no doubt be hugely disappointing following that third round exit, of course, to Bristol City in their replay in midweek. And of course, key for them as well is the fact they've got a number of players, or certainly 2 key players out at the moment. Mohamed Kudus, of course, as we know, on international duty with Ghana. Lucas Paqueta out for at least 2 months with that calf injury as well. What do you think they will be aspiring to this season, given they've now been dumped out of the FA Cup? Will it be simply a case of just trying to guarantee European qualification this time around again?
Yeah, I think that's very possible. I think they've got a good chance in the Europa League. To be honest, obviously top their group, so not found out who they're going to be playing in the next round, but they could have some really exciting ties against some really big teams. And after last season and their victory in the Conference League, not many teams will want to go to the London Stadium on an evening. The atmosphere so good there, so West Ham could have a really good run in there. And you look at where they are in the table. 6th in the league at the moment, ahead of Manchester United, just on the coattails of Tottenham Hotspur. They'll be looking to get themselves a European Conference place at the very least, based on how the first half of the season's gone for them. Their defence especially, such a strong part for them. The likes of Bowen and, as you mentioned, Kudos, Paqueta are missing today, but such bright players that it's not all doom and gloom for West Ham. I think they overall be very happy with so far this season, but wanted a bit more to come from this second half here at Bramall Lane.
And a couple of strikers have been linked with the Hammers in recent days as well. David Moyes reportedly interested, of course, in Steven Bergwijn. That's an interesting one. Of course, didn't work out for him at Tottenham. And Stuttgart's Serhou Guirassy as well, also a target.
Yeah, I think West Ham and strikers is a tale as old as time, isn't it? Not gone well for them recently, but you look at everywhere else in the transfer market, they've been really, really effective. So not sure why it doesn't quite seem to click when they introduce a striker in. I think the pressure straight away on their shoulders is huge. But I think with the goals that they've got from Kudos and Bowen this season, it's not like it's a crisis for West Ham. They are scoring goals, so it's not like they need someone to come in and hit the ground straight away. They can take their time, get into this system. But yeah, some of the mains you mentioned there, Chris, I think Guirassy especially, what a signing he could be, smashing it in the Bundesliga so far this season. I think West Ham fans would love to have him at the London Stadium, and I think he'd suit their style really well.
Thanks very much, Matt. Yes, Serhou Guirassy just 5 goals behind Harry Kane in the goal-scoring stakes in the Bundesliga. Talking of the Bundesliga, of course, our featured match currently in play at the moment, Bayern Munich at home to Werder Bremen. Are we still searching for our first goal there, Rich Bond?
We are very much, and it's quite surprising, really, when we came into this one, we thought we'd be full of goals so far, but so far it's goalless, and there hasn't been a great deal of chances in the match. Fair play to Werder Bremen. They've come out and set the stall well at the back with 3 centre-halves and then the 2 wing-backs dropped in for 5, and they've pushed out Munich quite well. They've made sure that they haven't had many shots on goal, and they've kept them, wanting, looking for more, and I've seen a few strong challenges on the go, and this is frustrating Munich, and you've seen Kimmich go in the book just to kind of retaliate on one of them, so it's frustrating them at the moment, and we're half an hour in, really. It's Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 0.
So goalless then at the Allianz Arena. Just to recap the other 2 scores we have for the matches we have currently in play here on Football Live on Brilla FM. Sheffield United 1, West Ham 1. That, of course, is a half-time score. Maxwell Cornet giving West Ham the lead in the 28th minute, but that was cancelled out just a minute before the break by Ben Brereton Diaz, who scored on his debut, of course, for Sheffield United to make it 1-1. And that's, as I say, how we are at half-time. And at half-time, in fact, they haven't quite reached half-time in Group F in the Africa Cup of Nations. It remains Morocco 1, DR Congo 0. They've had about 10 or 11 minutes time added on, stoppage time added on at the end of the first half there. Achraf Hakimi scoring in the 6th minute to give Morocco the lead. DR Congo missing a penalty just a few minutes before half-time. But as I said, they are still approaching the interval in that game. Morocco still a goal to the good. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM. It's that time of the programme once again now where we head back to our colleagues in Nigeria for all of your social media comments on all the action that's taken place so far this weekend. Of course, still plenty of action to come this afternoon with Bournemouth at home to Liverpool. Of course, Bournemouth suffered that horrific 9-0 defeat at Liverpool a couple of seasons ago. A question for FJ here. FJ, can you name the other 3 biggest Premier League wins in history? We'll be back soon.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
Yeah, welcome back to Football Live into the second hour of the programme here. Many thanks to FJ and the crew in Nigeria. We will be joining them in a little under an hour's time or so. I can tell you that at half-time in the Group F clash in the Africa Cup of Nations, it is Morocco 1, DR Congo 0. Achraf Hakimi's goal separating the two sides at the break. Right, second half is up and running at Bramall Lane. Sheffield United against West Ham, a match that's very nicely poised at the moment. Matt Key.
Yes, it's on the tentative knife edge, as the cliche goes. And there's a significant change at half-time as well for you, Chris. Ollie McBurney introduced into the action. He's come on for Ashula, who I thought had a decent first half, to be honest. But Chris Wilder's obviously seen something in the game plan. He's put Ollie McBurney on. Just allows Sheffield United to be a bit more direct, go to his feet, and then find the likes of Brereton Diaz to play off him. So it'd be interesting to see how that one develops. But yeah, Sheffield United again started this first 5 minutes confidently. Draws good point for them, but they really need those to start picking up those 3 points if they want to get out of the Premier League relegation zone. So McBurney on half time for the home side. Let's see if he can make a quick impact. 5 minutes gone in this second half so far, and it's Sheffield United 1, West Ham 1.
Our featured match in the Bundesliga, of course, is at the Allianz Arena. Bayern Munich at home to Werder Bremen. It was 0-0 as they approach half-time there, but the ball has been in the back of the net, Rich Bond.
Yeah, and, well, it wasn't for Bayern Munich either. It was for Werder Bremen, but it disallowed after a long VAR check, but very lucky Bayern Munich. Ball was nicked in midfield, and it was played just on the halfway line through by Roman Schmidt. He played the ball lovely through to Justin Neymar. He found himself through on goal, racing down on the Manuel Neuer, slot into the back net. Whole stadium was stunned, but it was disallowed. You know, since then, Bayern have had the odd chance up at Kamano. His header was comfortably saved by the Bremen keeper, but they've looked a bit off colour today, and I haven't seen Harry Kane at all. So at the moment, we're coming into the last few minutes before half-time. Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen, 0.
So it remains goalless. Yeah, Harry Kane, of course, scored his 22nd Bundesliga goal of the campaign when beating Hoffenheim last weekend. Can he beat Robert Lewandowski's record for the most goals scored in a single Bundesliga season? That stands at 41. Quite incredible. Around about, 3 or 4 seasons ago. But it remains goalless there. Bremen certainly up against it. They've failed to win in any of their last 33 head-to-head encounters with Bayern Munich. And they've lost 26 of the last 27 as well. So the stats don't look good, but at the moment, they're holding their own as they approach half-time at the Allianz Arena, and it remains goalless there. Now, of course, we have featured action in La Liga as well. Real Madrid at home to Almeria at the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium in Madrid. We are about 5 minutes or so away from kickoff in that game. Jamie McKee is our reporter on the spot this afternoon here on Football Live. And Jamie, surely it's a case of just how many goals Real are going to win by today.
Yeah, you would think so. And hello, Chris, and a hello to Football Live. It's second versus 20th in the Liga as Real Madrid host struggling Almeria. If Carlo Ancelotti's Real Madrid side win, they climb back to the top of Spain's top division. But if Almeria can somehow pull off a massive result, it would be a monumental day for the club, because Almeria are the only team in Europe's top 5 leagues yet to win a league game this season. 20 games played, 6 draws, 14 losses. And Real, on the other hand, are one of Europe's most informed teams. They've won 24 out of their 29 games in all competitions this season, and have only been beaten twice, both times coming at the hands of rivals Atletico Madrid. One of those defeats came on Thursday night as Real were forced to play 120 minutes against Atletico in the Copa del Rey. I wonder if that'll have any effect on Carlo Ancelotti's side. And will it affect star boy Jude Bellingham, who scored twice in the away fixture of today's game against Almeria in August, and is looking to extend his lead as the Liga's top goal scorer. Despite a heavy workout on Thursday night, Ancelotti has picked the big boys again. Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo and Chelsea loanee Kepa Arrizabalaga all start. We're just under 3 minutes away from kickoff, and this has a goal fest or an upset written all over it, but it should be a crack at the Bernabeu.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. Real Madrid at home to Almeria. Real, of course, who bagged another trophy last weekend when they beat Barcelona in the Spanish Super Cup final. Vinicius Jr. scoring a hat-trick in just 39 minutes in that game. And playing a team, of course, as Jamie just mentioned there, that are rooted to the foot of the table in La Liga without a win this season. They have scored previously against Real Madrid when the two sides met back in August. In the reverse fixture, Real Madrid winning 3-1 on that occasion after Almeria had taken an early lead in that game. But Real hitting back with 2 goals from Jude Bellingham. And when the sides met in the corresponding fixture last season, it was a 4-2 win for Real Madrid on that occasion. And that included a hat-trick from a certain Mr. Karim Benzema on that occasion. So that's Real Madrid against Almeria. Kickoff just about 2 minutes or so away here on Football Live on Brilla FM. It remains Sheffield United 1, West Ham 1 at Bramall Lane. Just over 10 minutes of the second half played there. And the second half is up and running in the Africa Cup of Nations Group F fixture. Morocco still 1-0 up at home to DR Congo. And we'll be crossing to our reporter, Mark Thomas, very shortly for an update on that match. Speaking of AFCON, going to bring in John Kane now as we reflect on what's happened so far here, John. It's been an interesting tournament with a few surprising scorelines. Nigeria, of course, the Super Eagles back in action tomorrow when they face Guinea-Bissau. And barring a complete disaster, they should progress through to the knockout stages.
Yes, the word should is very important, isn't it? It wasn't a good start for them, wasn't it, for Nigeria? They drew with Equatorial Guinea, 1-1. That wasn't good, but they made up for it, didn't they? They beat the Ivory Coast, who are always a very good team, by 1-0. So sort of it was a bit embarrassing opener, wasn't it? Now, of course, you mentioned some of the other games. It was an embarrassing opener for Egypt. They were mighty for the tournament last week until I saw them drawing 2-2 with Mozambique. And Mozambique were leading 2-1 until injury time when Salah equalised. Of course, he's injured now as well for the next couple of games for Egypt. So we have seen quite a few interesting results so far in this tournament. But of course, Algeria, again, they draw with Burkina Faso. Tunisia losing to Namibia. They are the least favourite to win. And they beat in Tunisia by 1-0. So we've seen quite a few interesting results so far, but that's the beauty of the AFCON, isn't it? Is no one is anyone, no one is bigger than everyone else. Everyone more or less equal when it comes to that kind of tournaments, which can make it very, very exciting, surely.
Yeah, always a wide open competition, as we know. And that was a huge win, wasn't it, for the Super Eagles, beating the hosts on Thursday with a certain goal from a certain Mr. William Truce-de-Kong, of course, former Watford skipper, as well as being the Super Eagles skipper as well. Nigeria versus Guinea-Bissau, Ivory Coast against Equatorial Guinea. Both of those matches kicking off at 6 p.m. Tomorrow evening. Let's hear now from Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey, who, of course, both of them feeling very honoured to be performing in the tournament this year.
Calvin, Alex, thanks for joining us here on Football Live. What does it mean to you both to be playing for Nigeria?
It's home. It's like you're not just representing your family, you're representing our whole nation, and especially for the culture we've grown up in. We've had the opportunity to either play for one nationality or another, and we chose to go back home. And yeah, it's always a privilege when we get called up. Like he said, singing the national anthem, everyone sings it with pride and so much conviction and vim. And then like when we're on the pitch, like everyone's fighting, not just for like us, not for ourselves, but like for the country as well. And it's a proud moment every time we get called up.
Calvin, how much does the AFCON mean to a player like yourself?
Actually, I ain't played in one before, so this is my first one. So for me, it's big, you know. Yeah, it's just a blessing. It's amazing, you know. These are things you used to dream of when you was a kid, you know, to play in big international tournaments, play in the Premier League, and to be able to be living in it is just a blessing. And yeah, just thank God, really.
Yeah, the thoughts there of Fulham's duo, Alex Iwobi and Calvin Bassey, of course, featuring for Nigeria, as I mentioned, in action tomorrow in a 6 p.m. kickoff against Guinea-Bissau. Cape Verde, of course, another team that have been making the headlines in AFCON, having won both of their opening matches in Group B, including that big win over Ghana as well. They've already become the first team to book their place in the last 16 as group winners. We will, of course, be across AFCON here on Football Live. Morocco still 1-0 up at home to DR Congo. 4.5 minutes into the second half there. We'll be crossing over to Mark Thomas very shortly for an update on the early exchanges of the second half in that game. But let's head straight back now to Bramall Lane. Sheffield United against West Ham. It was 1 apiece the last time we
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And I can tell you there's been an early goal in our featured match in La Liga this afternoon, because I can tell you that Real Madrid, amazingly, are 1-0 down at home to Almeria. It's Real Madrid 0, Almeria 1. We didn't see that coming, did we? Into the second minute of that game. And it's Laji Ramazani, the Belgian striker, who has opened Almeria's account. And, well, Real Madrid 0, Almeria 1. The latest score from the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. And we will be hearing all about that goal from our reporter, Jamie McKeague, very, very shortly here on Football Live. Before we do that, let's get an update now on all the matters that are taking place in AFCON this afternoon. In fact, before we do, let's cross now to our reporter, Jamie McKeague. Jamie, what can you say? The odds for Almeria to take the lead in this game, we'd written them off before they even kicked a ball.
They haven't won a league game all season. They haven't scored many goals. Real Madrid don't concede many goals, but they've taken the lead in less than 90 seconds. Wow, that's all I can say. I'm honestly speechless right now. It's a Real Madrid error. Real Madrid hand Almeria the goal. Real Madrid kick off. It's a loose pass from Nacho as Real Madrid are trying to play out from the back. They get a lot of bodies inside the Almeria half. Almeria press really well. Nacho tries to play it out to the left-hand side to Ferland Mendy, but his pass is just under hit. And Almeria right winger Arribas picks it up. He gives it inside to the captain, Robert Tone. Pass it lovely, really well out to the left-hand side to Ramzani, and he finishes. But I think it's another mistake, because then Kepa Arrizabalaga, the Chelsea loanee, should do much better. It's hit straight at him. It's just underneath his leg. He swings the leg at it, but he also comes up his leg and pushes it into the back of the net. So I think it's a calamity of errors for Real Madrid, but Almeria capitalise on those mistakes really well. I cannot believe it. 3 minutes gone here at the Santiago Bernabeu. No one would have thought this, but it's Real Madrid 0, Almeria 1.
So a really surprising scoreline there. As I mentioned just before kickoff, of course, when these two sides met in the reverse fixture, Almeria took the lead in that game before losing 3-1. They've taken the lead again this afternoon, but there's a long, long way to go in that game. Any further developments from the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid, you will hear them first here on Football Live on Brilla FM. The half-time whistle has gone at the Allianz Arena, and a little bit of a surprising scoreline there. Rich Bond.
Yeah, very much so, Chris. It's half-time here. It's Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 0. Competitive contest, really. We're a bit surprised with that. It's Bremen who have come the closest to scoring, to breaking the deadlock, I'm afraid. They They had the ball in the net through Justin Neimer, only for the goal to be chalked off for a foul in the build-up in the play. So Bayern really got away with that one, and they haven't really created that much themselves. But their best chance really came to Upamecano about seconds after that ball was in the net at the other end, and his header was weak, and it was saved by the visiting keeper Zettler. So it's been a very stop-starting match. They haven't really got their passing routine together, and Thomas Tuchel will be asking for more from his players in the second half, as they'll want to get, particularly Harry Kane, who's been anonymous, much more on the ball. If I just have a quick look at the betting odds here, it could be a bit of an upset on the cards, and we'll have a little look with Naira now. It's 1.396 for the win for Bayern now, so that's gone up a bit, and 4.150 for the draw, and it's gone down to 11.00 for a Werder Bremen win. And considering they had the ball in the net in the first half, you never know with this one. So those odds are they could change as time goes on. So have a little look if you fancy that one. But for now, though, it's Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 0 at half time.
There's further action, of course, in the Bundesliga a little bit later on this afternoon, kicking off at 5:30. Borussia Mönchengladbach at home to Augsburg. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM on this Sunday afternoon, 22 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock. Let's head straight back now to the Stade Laurent-Pocu in the Africa Cup of Nations, of course, in the Ivory Coast in Group F. Morocco against the Democratic Republic of Congo. And do Morocco still have that slender lead, Mark Thomas?
Yes, they do, Chris. They've just had a very good chance on goal as well. Zytek blasted the ball over from about 8 yards out over the top of the goal. Before that, in the 47th minute, big chance for substitute Baka in Congo who came on. Totally missed the header. Couldn't get it on target with the goal absolutely gaping in front of him. It should have been a goal. It should have been 1-1, but it wasn't. A couple of substitutions for Congo. They've taken off Bendada and Maccabi, and Malal and Alia are on now. It's a very even game, a little bit scrappy, but an exciting encounter nonetheless. The score is still Morocco 1, Congo 0.
Further action, of course, taking place in the Africa Cup of Nations a little bit later on today. Of course, with South Africa at home. South Africa taking on Namibia in Group E, and that kicks off at 9 p.m. and kicking off at 6 p.m. Zambia against Tanzania. I can tell you that just as we left Mark Thomas there, VAR were looking at a penalty for Congo, another penalty for Congo. It was awarded, of course, in the first half. They missed it. They failed to capitalise, and this time the penalty has not been given. So it remains Morocco 1, Democratic Republic of Congo 0 in the Africa Cup of Nations Group F. Action, of course, too, on this edition of Football Live from the Scottish Cup 4th round, kicking off in just over 35 minutes' time at Celtic Park. Celtic taking on Highland League outfit Bucky Thistle. Our reporter and watching that match for us this afternoon here on Football Live is Barry Swain. And Barry, what a great occasion this is for the visiting supporters.
Yeah, it's a great occasion for Bucky Thistle, probably the best day or the biggest day in their history. The Highland League part-timers will probably be looking to Almeria for a little bit of inspiration this afternoon, causing a shock, of course, away at Real Madrid. Still a long way to go in that one, even longer to go in this one, of course. Celtic have gone strong. Joe Hart, the goalkeeper, skippers aside, Matt O'Reilly, Kyrgyz Furuhashi, Lyle Abada and Louis Palmer all in the starting lineup. Anthony Ralston on the bench. Bucky, who are also playing green and white hoops just like Celtic, are pretty much at full strength. Celtic's Stephen Walsh, who is on the bench, and Bucky's Josh Peters, who starts, are cousins. There's a link for you. They're 5th in the Highland League, are Bucky Thistle. They've only lost one league game in 14. They've only dropped 4 points this season. They do have games in hand on the leaders, so they could be promoted to the Scottish League come the end of the season. Celtic, of course, 8 points clear, holders of the Scottish Cup. They're up against a team that's only conceded 14 in 14, but you would expect Celtic to triumph this afternoon. Just quickly touching on the odds for you. Celtic 1.01 with NairaBet subject to change. Could it go to a replay? 31.00 for the draw, and Bucky a modest 41.0. Over 10.5 goals, 17.00 if you really fancy Celtic to go to town today. But this Bucky side are pretty good defensively. Should be an interesting one, although you would be back in Celtic, I assume. Celtic against Bucky Thistle. Kick-off is around about 35 minutes from now, Chris.
And Barry, I guess this is one of those sort of fairy tale matches, David against Goliath, where you just hope that the occasion doesn't weigh too heavily on the Bucky Thistle players and that they can put in some kind of performance this afternoon.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how fresh they are, actually. I mean, Celtic have not really had much of a break. Bucky Thistle's last 6 games, they've won 2 and 4 of them have been postponed. So that gives you an indication of what the weather's like up in the Highlands. There's a lot of snow around at the moment, and they will certainly hope that they're rested and they're not too way short of match fitness against what will be a very strong Celtic side.
Thanks very much to Barry Swain there, who will be across Celtic against Bucky Thistle in the Scottish Cup 4th round at Celtic Park. Kickoff at 5 p.m. This afternoon. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM. Let's head back now to Bramall Lane. Substitution news for Matt Key to tell us about. Matt.
Yeah, Ben Brereton Diaz, he's made his debut, he's got his goal, and now he's off after 65 minutes, replaced by Cameron Archer, the big money man in the summer, of course. Got a big goal last time, a few weeks ago against Aston Villa, his old club. So looking to get what would be, you'd think it'd be a winner at this stage. We've got 20 minutes left, but to be honest, Chris, this second half hasn't quite been as open as the first half was. It does feel like now that one more goal for either team would probably nick the game, as we see an interesting one here from West Ham as you come to me. Ben Johnson, a right back, being brought on for Maxwell Cornet, a winger, and obviously the man who got West Ham's goal. Bit of a strange one that West Ham, I feel like they've not offered much in an attacking sense. You'd think David Moyes would want to sort that out by putting an attacking player on rather than taking one off. But maybe just a reason why that sometimes West Ham fans aren't happy. It does seem a bit of a strange one. They'd expect to have won this game today, and it's a defensive change with 20 minutes to go. As it's the last 20 minutes, I'll give you one last run through of the odds. Sheffield United 3.50 started this game as the outsiders, but now ahead of West Ham, who are 4.50. So clearly reflecting that they've been the better team in this game so far. 1.91 for the draw, though, the standout result with 20 minutes left. Those odds, of course, by NairaBet, and of course subject to change. 20 minutes to go in this one. It's Sheffield United 1, West Ham United 1.
And you just get the sense that 3 points will certainly lift Sheffield United this afternoon as they look, of course, to close the gap between themselves and the side currently in the 17th spot, of course, in the Premier League. It would be a big win, but it's still currently level then at Bramall Lane at 1 apiece. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM. I can tell you in the Asian Cup at half-time, it's Oman 0, Thailand 0. That is a half-time score there for you from the Asian Cup. And, of course, we'll keep you up to date with how things pan and develop in that match. That's a Group F fixture taking place this afternoon in the Asian Cup. Let's give you a few other latest scores as well from around Europe. First of all, in Italian Serie A, Frosinone 3, Cagliari 1. That was a result from earlier on today. Empoli now 2 goals to the good at home to Monza into the 73rd minute of that match. And in La Liga, a result from earlier on this afternoon, Osasuna 3, Getafe 2. And of course, as we know, a latest score from the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. It's Real Madrid 0, Almeria 1. Yes, you heard that correctly. It is Real Madrid 0, Almeria 1. That is, of course, our featured match. And they're into the 14th minute of that game there in La Liga. Let's give you some latest scores now from the Nigerian Premier League as well. Plenty of action taking place there today. Gombe 1, Bayelsa United 1 into the 66th minute there. And these are all latest first half scores. Aqua United 0, Enugu 0, Kano 0, Heartland 1. Kano 0, Heartland 0, Lobby Stars 1, Plateau 0, Niger 1, Katsina United. Niger 0, Katsina United 0, Remo Stars 1, Abia Warriors 0, and Shooting Stars 0, Enyimba 0. All latest scores for you there from the Nigerian Premier League. You are listening to Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live.
Who's enjoying AFCON so far? Yeah. NairaBet is increasing your chances of winning with a 500 Naira free bet every day during the African Cup of Nations. With an extra free bet added every time you back the Super Eagles to win. All you need to do is visit nairabet.com, bet on 3+ selections, claim your daily free bet. 18+. Free bet for backing your country applies to only when betting on the day your country plays. Minimum 3 selections, at least 1 selection on AFCON. Minimum odds per selection 1.2. Minimum bet slip odds 1.5. Free bets will be valid for 7 days. General and free bet terms and conditions apply.
I can tell you... no, I can't tell you anything.
Pity those poor North London supporters. Absolute chaos at the Etihad.
Yes, the goal has finally come.
Attack, attack, attack.
We've heard about the goat in the crowd. Is there a goal on the pitch?
Is Victor Osimhen with the goal.
And I'm sure most Chelsea fans out there listening will agree that that simply is not good enough.
We're zigzagging all over the United Kingdom.
And they've got to play 3-4, 3-4-2, no, 3-4-3 looks like.
Football Live returns next Saturday on the Frequency of Champions, Brila FM. Ahead of the AFCON knockouts, we will be bringing you the very best FA Cup coverage.
All of the highest standard.
Can Africa-born manager George Elokobi cause an upset as non-league Maidstone United look to spring a surprise at in-form Ipswich Town?
And what a headache.
There are 3 other ties on our watch, including the All-Premier League clash at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United taking on last season's semi-finalists Brighton.
I think I ran back to the halfway line before anybody caught me.
Buckle up for a bit of Bundesliga too. Bayern Munich are in action. Can Augsburg stop Harry Kane and co?
Oh, it's studs right down his shin pad, isn't it?
Join us next Saturday, Football Live, back from 1:30 in the afternoon. FA Cup, AFCON, Bundesliga and more. We've got it covered right here, live on Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
Yeah, welcome back. It's 33 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on this Sunday afternoon. It remains Sheffield United 1, West Ham 1 in the Premier League. Morocco still just edging their match in the Africa Cup of Nations in Group F against DR Congo. They lead by a goal to 0. And, of course, at half-time in our feature match in the Bundesliga, it's Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 0, and the Real Madrid still trailing at home to Almeria by a goal to 0 in La Liga. Team news will be filtering through very, very shortly, of course, for the 5:30 kickoff in the Premier League. Bournemouth at home to Liverpool. Really looking forward to this one this afternoon. Bournemouth, of course, on a good run, really, over the last couple of months, having not won a single of their opening 10 matches in the Premier League this season. However, they have lost 8 of the last 9 matches between these two sides. So they don't have a good record against Liverpool at all. And in fact, they've only won 2 of 21 matches against the Reds. It's a match that the Liverpool boss, Jurgen Klopp, is no doubt looking forward to.
And it's just kind of, when you don't play them at the weekend, I really have time to admire that, what he's doing there. So it was obviously a really difficult start for him at Bournemouth with the manager change and these kind of things, which I didn't know a lot about him, about a colleague. And then the start of the season, obviously the results, if you don't have a proper look at Bournemouth, it can happen. But they turned it around. Wow. That's real coaching, I have to say. And he found a way to set this team up, and they have a really good mix. They play football, they find direction in the right moments. They use Tom Solanke in a sensational way. The support he gets from the center, from the wings, the way they defend, really good, really compact. So that's proper. That will be a difficult game, definitely. We don't know anything about him. I spoke last night with him and how it is with his injuries. We need further assessment. That's what they are doing now. And then we will know more. Of course, it was in that moment a shock. Oh my God, what's it? Couldn't see that it was like hit by something like this high intense and then going down. You have these kind of hamstring injuries different way, but he still felt it. And we all know how rarely Mo goes off or needs to go off. And so there's definitely something, and we will see.
That's the Liverpool boss, Jurgen Klopp, discussing the hamstring injury, of course, to Mo Salah, who will certainly miss the next 2 matches for Egypt in the Africa Cup of Nations. Penalty news coming in from Bramall Lane. I can tell you it's been awarded the way of West Ham, so we will give you details just as soon as they filter through. But the Hammers with an opportunity to go ahead for the second time in the match there with about, 12 minutes or so of the 90 remaining. That would be disastrous for the Blades, but it is a penalty for West Ham. Of course, it remains Sheffield United 1, West Ham 1 at this moment in time. Just going back to the Bournemouth-Liverpool game, of course, kicking off, as I say, at 5:30 this afternoon. Our reporter covering that game for us will be Andrew Bonacore, and we'll be joining him very, very shortly for team news as we build up to that game. Goal news from Bramall Lane.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And West Ham have converted from the penalty spot. James Ward-Prowse, I believe, with a goal. Let's hear all about it now from Matt Key.
Oh, it's a huge goal with 10 minutes left. West Ham have got their lead back. It's heartbreak for Sheffield United. It was a tangle of legs in the box. Really nice turn from Danny Ings to get away from one. And then Homer trying to get back at him. And it's just a coming together. But it was adjudged that it was Homer that went into Danny Ings. Penalty given, never going to be overturned. The right decision from the referee, and up steps James Ward-Prowse. He's cool, he's calm, he's collected, straight down the middle, no chance for Fodringham. And with 10 minutes left, could West Ham have got all 3 points? They've been poor in this second half, but they've got the goal, and Sheffield United 10 minutes to see if they can find anything to get something from this game. It's Sheffield United 1, West Ham 2.
James Ward-Prowse then with his 4th goal of the season. West Ham now in front for the second time in the game. And with about 10 minutes or so remaining at this moment in time, the points, all 3 points, that is, heading back towards East London. And that will be disaster for Sheffield United. It will mean that they remain 8 points adrift of safety at the foot of the Premier League table. Sheffield United 1, West Ham 2, the latest then from Bramall Lane. Second half has kicked off at the Allianz Arena. Bayern Munich against Werder Bremen. Goalless at the break, surprisingly there, and a couple of changes, I believe, that have been made at the start of the second half. Rich Bond.
No changes. It's all the same for the second half now. We're just back underway. We're about 3 minutes in, and Bayern Munich looking to show a little bit more intent. I would have thought at half-time, Thomas Tuchel would have said to his players, try and get the ball down and play, and try and look as if you can get that ball a bit quicker down the flanks, particularly, and try and find that big target man, Harry Kane, in this second half. They didn't have a lot of chances. They're going to have to create a bit more now and try and close that gap on by Leverkusen, like we talked about earlier on. But at the moment, though, it's Bayern Munich 0 and Werder Bremen 0.
Let's turn our attentions back to the Africa Cup of Nations. I think a little under 20 minutes or so remaining in that Group F fixture. Morocco leading Democratic Republic of Congo by a 1-0. And of course, it would pretty much guarantee their route through to the knockout phase. Mark Thomas.
Yes, it's still that Hakimi goal after 6 minutes. That's the difference here. Morocco still leading 1-0, of course. Masuaku had a long-range shot. The closest attempt we've had to go for Congo about 8 minutes ago. He didn't trouble the goalkeeper, Homer. A lot of changes on both sides. It's getting a bit scrappy in midfield. All getting a bit bogged down. A real sort of cat and mouse game without any finality on the passes. A lot of attacking attempt from both teams, but they're just not making the difference getting into the box. We've got 71 minutes gone here, Chris. It's still Morocco 1, Democratic of Congo 0.
Back to our featured match in La Liga. Surprising scoreline the last time we were with Football Live reporter Jamie McKee.
Yes, Chris, it's been a pretty flat game so far since the goal, and to be fair, you would expect after Almeria go 1-0 up after less than a minute that they would shut up shop and park the bus, and you wouldn't blame them for doing so. You know, they were 1-0 up against Real Madrid, and they haven't won all season, so you'd expect them to do that, but they're having a go. They're relentlessly pressing Real, they're catching them on the counter-attack, and they're getting bodies into the opposition half, which is commendable. But you have to think, against Real Madrid, with the quality they've got through Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo and Jude Bellingham, etc., that eventually they'll find a way through or exploit a mistake, a little bit like what Almeria did for their first goal. But that's not a guarantee, and so far Almeria are still ahead, so they're still going to be happy. And like I said, they're pressing Real Madrid, they're having a go, and they're putting them on the back foot a little bit. Real have glanced the ball across the 6-yard box a few times, and they had back-to-back corners, but so far they've recorded nothing of note. I think Real, and I might touch on this maybe later on in the game the more I see it, I think they might be suffering from not having an actual out-and-out number 9. Obviously they had Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema up front for years, but I think now with Rodrigo having to be dragged centrally and Vinicius Jr., they're not natural strikers, and Jude Bellingham, because Almeria are sitting quite deep and Almeria are going for it, he's having to be more involved in build-up, and he's not getting himself inside the final third and on the end of chances. So I think Real so far from what I've seen are struggling to create chances because they don't have a real number 9, because they're just aimlessly putting the ball in the box whilst there's no one to aim at. But if you're an Almeria fan or you don't like Real Madrid, you'll be very happy because 25 minutes have gone here at the Santiago Bernabeu, and it's still Real Madrid 0, Almeria 1.
And Jamie, do you think a little bit of fatigue might have crept into the Real Madrid side, of course, because they've been in action on numerous occasions over the course of the last week or so in the Super Cup, of course, which was held out in Saudi. And, of course, they were in action in the Copa del Rey in midweek as well.
Yeah, I think so. You know, a Madrid derby in the Copa del Rey goes 120 minutes. That is going to take a massive toll. Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Jude Bellingham, they all played in that game, as did the defenders as well. So I definitely do think the fact that game was only 4 days ago is going to play a massive factor. 120 minutes against Atletico Madrid, who are incredibly tough to break down and play against, is going to take a massive toll. So I do think maybe fatigue is setting in a little bit, and I think Almeria going 1-0 up, it's given them so much more confidence, and it's deflated Real Madrid a little bit. So it is interesting, but I do think that Copa del Rey game and the Super Cup out in Saudi have taken a massive toll in this team. But that is not to discredit Almeria and what they've done so far at all.
Thanks very much, Jamie. Yes, of course, Real Madrid out of the Copa del Rey, having been beaten by their Madrid rivals in midweek by 4-2 after extra time. That was just their second defeat of the season in all competitions, and still trailing at home to bottom side Almeria, who, of course, as we know, still without a win in La Liga this season. Any further developments there from the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid, you'll hear them here on Football Live on Brilla FM. We will give you a few odds a little bit later on, but before we do, I think we have some goal news coming in from the Africa Cup of Nations.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And DR Congo are back on level terms there. It's Morocco 1, DR Congo 1 in that game. An equalising goal there. And that scuppers Morocco's hopes, as it stands at the moment, of going through to the knockout phase. Anyway, but we have about 13 minutes or so of time, normal time remaining there. It's now Morocco 1, Democratic Republic of Congo 1 in that match. Let's head back to the Allianz Arena now and get an update on Bayern Munich's clash with Werder Bremen. And Bayern, are they making any inroads, or are they getting any closer to breaking the deadlock in this game? Rich Bond.
Well, we've had the first sighted goal for Harry Kane, and it came as Bayern is starting to play a little bit more offensive, getting the ball a bit more quicker forwards. You can see the best of Alphonso Davies powering down that left-hand side. We see that so often. Got great pace. He fed in Sane. Sane's cut the ball back to the edge of the box, finding Kane. He's got the ball a little bit stuck between his feet. He's got away a shot quite powerfully, but it's always rising, just going over the bar. But it's better from Bayern Munich in this second half. Look the better side in the early stages. Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 0.
Just a reminder, about 10 minutes time or so, back to our colleagues in Nigeria. We will be heading with FJ and the crew for all of your social media comments. Let's get news of that equalising goal for DR Congo in the Africa Cup of Nations against Morocco. Here's Mark Thomas.
Yes, fantastic goal. It was a Silas who came on as a substitution, went down the line, pulled the ball back into the box, and Mavumpa gave it a real thumper underneath the goalkeeper. Couldn't get to it. It's 1-1, and it's been coming. DR Congo have been pushing and pushing. They've looked the likeliest of teams to get this. Get the next goal. And right now we have a real battle here. It is the score right now with only about 15 minutes left. Morocco 1, Democratic of Congo 1.
So that match is now very, very finely balanced indeed. We've got all the latest betting news courtesy of NairaBet coming up next here on Football Live.
Here's John Kane with all the very latest odds from NairaBet.
Yes, all the latest odds from NairaBet. Of course, all these prices are subject to change. Let's start with the Premier League. It's about 2 minutes to go plus stoppage time. Sheffield United 1, West Ham 2. If you fancy a late punter on any draw or the win, the draw is 7.0. West Ham is 1.14, so it's very, very, very little to gain from that. If you think Sheffield United can turn around in the next couple of minutes or so, if you're adventurous, they are 51.0, but the draw is more or less probably the favourable one. It's just gone up to 7.0. About 12 minutes to go between Morocco and the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's 1-0, as you just heard. Morocco are 4.0 for the win. The draw is 1.44, and Congo's win is 7.50. The Asian Cup still 0-0 after 58 minutes between Oman and Thailand. Oman are 2.88 for the win. The draw has just gone down to 1.91, and Thailand away win is 4.20. The German Bundesliga, 56 minutes gone, is still 0-0, as you heard from Richard Bond. Bayern Munich are just gone up to 1.44 for the win. The draw has gone down to 4.0, and away win for Werder Bremen has gone down to 10.0. I'm sure Richard Bond got something to say about that. Spanish La Liga, Real Madrid 0, Almeria 1. Real Madrid to win are 1.60. The draw is 4.20, and away win for Almeria is 5.50. If you just look for the Almeria goals, Real Madrid goal quickly, if you think total goals going to be over 3.5 goals, is 1.80. And if you look at this first half, if you think there's going to be at least one more goal in that game between Real Madrid and Almeria, over 1.5 goals in this half, they are 1.73. If you think it's going to be over 2.5 goals in the first half, it's 4.33. Of course, all these prices are from NairaBet and is all subject to change.
Many thanks to our betting expert there, John Kane, with all of the latest odds there, courtesy of NairaBet here on Football Live on Brilla FM. 11 minutes to the hour of 5 o'clock here. Still plenty of action to look forward to, of course. We have action from Serie A kicking off at 6 p.m. this evening, I should say. Salernitana at home to Genoa at the Stadio Arecci. Mark Thomas will be keeping tabs on that match for us. And, of course, we will keep you up to date with all of the other latest scores of the matches currently in play at the moment. I believe we have a potential red card at Bramall Lane. It's all kicking off a little bit at the moment. But before we get there, we have some surprising goal news now from the Bundesliga.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
I'll tell you what, it's a great day for the bookmakers because at the moment, it's now Bayern 0, Werder Bremen 1. Werder Bremen taking the lead there just before the hour mark. Mitchell Weiser giving them the lead. So Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 1, the latest score at the Allianz Arena. Let's head now to Bramall Lane because we've had a little bit of an eruption of fighting, I believe, in that match. Let's rejoin Matt King. What's going on there, Matt?
Well, it looks like Sheffield United Smithery is going to be compound because Ryan Brewster, who's only just come on the pitch, only came on, is going to be sent off. It's an awful, awful challenge. No complaints whatsoever. It was West Ham playing out from the back, and Emerson's got the ball, and Brewster has jumped in. It's like he's in the Olympics trying to get trying to be in the long jump, Chris. It's an awful tackle. He's jumped in, both feet off the floor, studs up, clattered into Emerson. The West Ham players surrounded him. It's no surprise, really. It was an absolutely shocking challenge. The only surprise was that a yellow card was given initially. It looked straight away like a blatant red card, and Rob Jones has recommended that down in England went to the monitor. He has done. He's just come back. He's given the red card to Ryan Brewster. As I say, no surprise whatsoever, and there was a bit of afters, a bit of handbags, and I say West Ham quite rightly not happy with that challenge because it was an absolute shocker, to be honest with you. Soufal's been booked for his part in it. Not really sure what he's done in there. Don't know if there's something that was said or whatever. But we've got 3 minutes left, 6 minutes have added on time, and that looks to be the final nail in the Sheffield United coffin. Played well once again today, but looks like they're going to end up with nothing once again. Ryan Brewster off, and it's Sheffield United 1, West Ham 2.
So a very disappointing afternoon as it stands at this moment in time for Blades fans. Deep into stoppage time, a man down and still trailing at home to the Happy Hammers by 2-1. You're listening to Football Live. We are about just over 40 minutes or so away from kickoff, of course, at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth at home to Liverpool this evening. Here's Andrew Bonacore now, who can give us all the latest team news. Very good evening to you, Andrew.
Good evening to you, Chris. Both sides here are in great form. Bournemouth have won 6 out of their last 8 games in the Premier League, just one more than Liverpool. That's the end of the good news for Bournemouth, though, as Liverpool have already beaten the Cherries twice this season. Bournemouth boss Andoni Iraola hands a debut to young defender James Hill. Chris Meppen and Max Aarons come in to replace Marco Senesi and Dango Utara. Reds boss Jurgen Klopp gives a starting shirt to 20-year-old Connor Bradley in place of Trent. Harvey Elliott and Curtis Jones also start. Though Bournemouth have Neto in goal, a back four of Max Aarons, Zabani, Meppen and Hill. Lewis Cook is sitting in front of them with Sinistera, Cliver, Tavernier and former Liverpool player Dominic Solanke, who is on fire at the moment up front. Liverpool line up with Alisson in goal, Bradley, Konate, Van Dijk and Gomez in front of him. McAllister, Elliott and Jones across the middle, and an attacking three of Diogo Jota, Darwin Núñez and Luis Diaz. In terms of the betting on Naira Bet a few seconds ago, subject to change of course. If you fancy Bournemouth for the win, you'll get odds of 4.2. Liverpool are just 1.75 to win. But if you fancy a draw between these informed clubs, you can get 4.33. In terms of goal scorers, Dominic Solanke, bang in form, is at 2.5 to score today. And Billing, his Bournemouth teammate, is decent looking money on 5 on the dot to score at any point today. In terms of the Reds, though, it's Darwin Núñez at 2.3, Luis Diaz at 2.9. As you say, kick-off in around 40 minutes from the Vitality Stadium. It's Bournemouth versus Liverpool.
And full coverage here on Football Live. So let's just quickly recap the latest scores for you in our featured matches. Final few seconds at Bramall Lane. It remains Sheffield United 1, West Ham 2. United down to, Sheffield United that is, down to 10 men. Real Madrid 0, Almeria 1, Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 1. And Morocco 1, Democratic Republic of Congo 1 in the Africa Cup of Nations. You're fully up to date with all the latest scores here on Football Live. Right now, we head back over to FJ and the crew in Nigeria for all of your social media interaction. Of course, I did pose a little question for FJ a little bit earlier on. The biggest wins in the Premier League, of course, Liverpool beating Bournemouth a couple of seasons ago by 9-0. What were the other 3 biggest Premier League wins in the Premier League? Manchester United 9, Southampton 0 in Feb 21, Southampton 0, Leicester 9 in October 2019. And of course, going way, way back, Manchester United putting 9 past Ipswich in a 9-0 win back in March 1995. That was the answer. Over to Nigeria we go, and we'll be back with you very shortly here on Football Live.
Hit it, boys.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
Welcome back to Football Live. Many thanks to our colleagues in Nigeria. Well, let's head straight back to Bramall Lane because we had an explosive finish to the match between Sheffield United and West Ham this afternoon. And with a full-time report, here's a very exhausted Matt Key.
Yeah, I think explosive is certainly the word, Chris. What an ending we had here at Bramall Lane. When you left me and we went to the advert break, it was 2-1 West Ham, and that's the way it was right until the 96th minute when a cross from, I've missed, before we get to the goal, there's a red card for West Ham. Vladimir Soufal, who got booked in that incident which saw Ryan Brewster sent off, he committed a foul, got a second yellow, and was given his marching orders. The cross came in, and it was one of those ones you seem to see all the time in the Premier League. The goalkeeper and the attacker and the defender all going for the ball. It was Zuma who was adjudged to have fouled Ollie McBurney in the box. Penalty given right on the 96th minute. Areola was injured in the process of the foul. He received treatment. His lip was bleeding. He actually went off and was replaced by Fabianski. This whole time, James McAtee was juggling the ball in his hand, waiting to take the spot kick. But then as Fabianski came on, he passed the ball over to Ollie McBurney to resume the penalty duties, and he slotted it away brilliantly. And that wasn't it, because West Ham took the restart. We're in the 112th minute at this point, went straight up the other end, and Jared Bowen thought he was fouled by Ahmedovic. The referee this time not giving a penalty for what, to be honest, looked a really similar incident, instead giving a penalty against a handball against Bowen. David Moyes and West Ham incensed. And after that breathless end, it's finished here. Sheffield United 2, West Ham United 2. Crazy finish.
Absolutely crazy. Many thanks to our reporter Matt Key there. Sheffield United remain 8 points adrift at the foot of the Premier League table. We have a goal in the Scottish FA Cup fourth round.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
It's come at Celtic Park, and it's Celtic 1, Bucky Thistle 0. Celtic 1, Bucky Thistle 0. Barry Swain will be furnishing us with all the details about that opening goal for the Hoops very, very shortly here on Football Live. But right now, let's head over to our reporter Mark Thomas, who was keeping tabs on the Africa Cup of Nations Group F clash this afternoon between Morocco and the Democratic Republic of Congo. How did it all pan out in the end, Mark?
Well, it all panned out 1-1. And, Morocco were the #1 team in Africa. Republic of Congo were the 13th. Turned out to be rather unlucky for Morocco. They were under the cosh the last 15 minutes. They were second. They were certainly the second-rate team. They had a couple of good chances, Congo, to put it away after Mavumbo scored in the 78th minute. Terrific. He really made the difference when he came on in the second half. And, you sense that Morocco were just holding on. They'd made so many substitutions at that point. They'd taken Zaitek off, their best player, of course, and their formations sort of, they were discombobulated all over the place. And I think they'll be very happy to get away with a 1-1 draw. And that's how it finished. It was Morocco 1, Congo 1.
So the points are shared there, and just looking at the Group F table now, Morocco still top the group, played 2, 1-1, drawn 1 on 4 points. 2 points clear now of the Democratic Republic of Congo, who have drawn both of their opening matches, and Zambia and Tanzania 1 point and 0 points at the moment, respectively. And of course, they are in action, kicking off at 6 p.m. this evening in Group F. That's how Group F plays out today. Further fixture, of course, for you in the Africa Cup of Nations today in Group E. South Africa taking on Namibia. I can tell you that we do have goal news now coming in. Further goal news from the Scottish FA Cup fourth round.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
I say further goal news because the opening goal we thought had been scored was in fact ruled out through VAR, but it is now 1-0 to Celtic. They have taken the lead against the Highland League club It's Celtic 1, Bucky Thistle 0. So having had a goal cancelled out for VAR just a couple of minutes beforehand, Celtic are in front in that game into the 26th minute there. Let's hear all about it now from our man on the spot, Barry Swain.
Yes, finally they got the breakthrough, Celtic. It's taken them 24 minutes to break down the non-leaguers. They just had a goal disallowed a couple of minutes ago. It was so borderline on VAR. They got away with one a little bit there, Bucky Thistle. Could have had a penalty early on as well. VAR rescued on that one as well. But a little bit of class. First time really this afternoon in the pouring rain here at Celtic Park. An incisive through ball by O'Reilly into the path of Paulo Bernardo, and the Portuguese just chipped it nonchalantly, quite brilliantly, over the top of the Bucky Thistle goalkeeper Knight and into the net, and Celtic have the lead. But it has taken them, as I just said, nearly 25 minutes. Celtic 1, Bucky Thistle 0.
Well, we've had plenty of shocks and surprises this afternoon in the world of football. I can tell you, in La Liga, it remains Real Madrid 0, Almeria 2. They're into the 7th minute or so of the second half in that game. What a shock scoreline there from the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. Real Madrid 0, Almeria 2. Almeria, you will recall, have yet to notch up a victory in La Liga this season. Talking of shocks, I believe that we have a very, very surprising result from our featured match in the German Bundesliga this evening. It's all over at the Allianz Arena. Here's Rich Bond.
Yeah, it's full time here, and it's the shock of all shocks in Germany today as the champions have been beaten. It's finished here, Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 1. Mitchell Weiser with the winner just after the hour mark, running onto a hopeful ball over the top, it has to be said, on the right hand side. But he cut inside Alphonso Davies, who was beaten way too easily. Still didn't look as if he was much on, but he smashed a powerful effort from the edge of the area, and it's gone flying over the keeper into the roof of the net. 75,000 people in the ground, stunned. It's gone silent. Bayern Munich huffed and puffed then, going forward, and would force Michael Zetteler on several occasions into such splendid saves. Sane, Musiala, and all the big names. Kane, Matthias Tell came off the bench. None of them could beat him. Eric Choupo-Moting came on. He hit the post with a header, which was the keeper just managed to get slight fingertips to, just to tip it on there. Still couldn't do it. Choupo-Moting had another chance deep in stoppage time, just went wide. They held on though. So what an absolute famous win. Their first in 33 head-to-heads, having lost the last 10 games, they conceded 49 goals. Not today though. Massive dent in Bayern Munich's challenge, and they fall 7 points behind Bayern Leverkusen this weekend. It's finished here, Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 1. What a shock.
Sorry, Rich, what a shock result there. And as Rich was saying, a huge shock and a huge dent in Bayern Munich's title aspirations, because as it stands, they have a game in hand, but they are 7 points behind Leverkusen, who of course fought out that 5-goal thriller with RB Leipzig yesterday, taking all 3 points there. So Leverkusen, top of the Bundesliga on 48 points, yet to be beaten this season. 7 points further back, Bayern Munich on 41 points. And then 7 points further back to them, Stuttgart on 34 points. And a really, really big result for Bremen, because it moves them up to 12th spot in the table on 20 points after that incredible success at the Allianz Arena this afternoon. Many congratulations to them. Before start of play, they'd failed to win any of their last 11 Bundesliga matches on the road, Bremen. And of course, they had the most dreadful record against Bayern Munich as well. But congratulations, as I say, to Bremen. They've won all 3 points this afternoon with that famous win at the Allianz Arena, where it's finished Bayern Munich 0, Werder Bremen 1. Could we have a famous win at the Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid this evening as well? They are into the 10th minute or so of the second half. Real Madrid at home to Almeria. It's a long way back for Los Blancos. Jamie McKeague.
It is, and I've got so much to talk about. We'll have to talk about Almeria's second goal. What a goal. It all starts off with a long goal kick from the Almeria goalkeeper, Luis Maximiano. It's picked up on the right-hand side by Almeria winger Arribas, who puts a cross into the box. Rudiger initially heads it clear, but the ball makes a right back onto the edge of the box, and Nacho clears it away, but his clearance bounces up perfectly for Almeria centre-back Edgar Gonzalez, who rifles a half volley into the top left-hand corner. Absolutely incredible, on his weaker left foot as well. He's about 20-25 yards out and scores a career-best goal. Kepa is positioned on the left-hand side of his goal, and people will wonder, should he do better? But it's an unbelievable volley, can't take anything away from him. And that was what the first half finished with, and I finished with some upset. And I think Real were very frustrated in that first half as well. I imagine if you were a Madridista, you'll be very frustrated and annoyed with how they've played. They haven't created a lot of clear-cut opportunities or goal-scoring opportunities, and they've been quite wasteful, especially inside the final third. Ancelotti did make some changes at half-time. Nacho Fernandez, Rodrigo and Ferland Mendy came off for Joselu, Brahim Diaz and Francisco Garcia. So I'm going to hand back to you now.
I can tell you that Bournemouth against Liverpool has just kicked off at the Vitality Stadium. You listen to Football Live here on Brilla FM, and we're just getting news that Real Madrid have been awarded a penalty following a VAR review. So this is a great opportunity for Carlo Ancelotti's side to try and get a foothold in this game. Trailing 2-0, they have been awarded a penalty following a VAR review. We will bring you full details of the outcome of that just as soon as we can here on Football Live on Brilla FM. But a penalty for Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham, it appears, will be taking the spot kick for Real Madrid. And goal news, not surprisingly.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Real Madrid have indeed reduced the deficit just shy of the hour mark. It's now Real Madrid 1, Almeria 2, Jude Bellingham from the penalty spot there. So probably still a long way to go in this game. And nervy times now for Almeria, who of course had taken that 2-0 lead, but Real Madrid are right back in it again. And any further news there from the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid, you will hear it right here, first and foremost, on Football Live on Brilla FM. Well, as I said, they are up and running at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth against Liverpool. Let's get an update now on the early moments in that first half from our reporter, Andrew Bonacore.
Yeah, this is wonderful stuff, Chris. Bournemouth are really, really going for it. A team absolutely bringing with confidence. We've just had 2 minutes. We've already had 2 Bournemouth corners. Liverpool struggling to get the ball out of their own penalty area. So absolutely clear from the opening exchanges, Bournemouth are going for this. Just the early moments of the game, but it's Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 0.
So goalless it remains at the Vitality Stadium. That's not the case, though, at Celtic Park, of course, where Celtic are in action against Bucky Thistle. And we have further goal news in that game.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And Celtic, of course, had taken the lead there. They are now 2 goals to the good. It's Celtic 2, Bucky Thistle 0. It's a great day out, of course, for the Bucky Thistle supporters from the Highland League. They're always going to be up against it this afternoon. But with about, just over 10 minutes or so to go before the break, Celtic are now leading by 2 goals to 0 as we cross to Barry Swain, and a very comfortable lead now for the Hoops, Barry.
Yeah, very comfortable indeed. 2-0. 2 goals disallowed as well. And they're starting to really turn the screw in this game. It's been a tough one for them, really, to be honest, because Bucky have given their everything and they've defended really stoutly. But another bit of quality, just like the first goal, another little bit of quality, and it's from the Norwegian this time. And ironically, Bucky Thistle is closer to Norway than it is England. Another little bit of quality from Holm in the midfield, diminutive midfielder Odin Thiago Holm. A little 1-2, he latches onto it. There's a player offside, but he's not interfering, and he just rolls it into the corner of the net. Celtic very much in control of this tie. I think it's fair to say they're already through the holders. They're 2-0 up on Bucky Thistle. 10 minutes to go to half time.
So Celtic 2 goals to the good at Celtic Park. Let's get news about that goal for Real Madrid from the penalty spot. Jude Bellingham. Here's Jamie McKeague.
If any man was going to get Real Madrid back into this game, it was always going to be Jude Bellingham. That's number 14 of the season for him as he extends his lead as the La Liga's top goal scorer. What a season the Englishman is having. The penalty is, some will say it's harsh, but I do think the correct decision was made. Garcia, it's a really good ball into the box from a free kick on the left-hand side. It comes off Almeria centre-back's Kaiki's arm as he's jumping to head it clear. It's harsh because he's jumping and your arms do need to be in the air when you're jumping. His arm is away from his body and it makes complete contact with his arm. Bellingham dispatched the penalty with absolute ease. Goalkeeper Maximiano, it's quite a difficult one to say. Goalkeeper Maximiano dives to his left, but Bellingham rolls the ball right down the middle and makes no mistake about it. Real Madrid have started the second half really strongly. They've been way more direct, far quicker, and look to be creating far more chances. This game is far from over. 59 minutes gone here. It is now Real Madrid 1, Almeria 2.
So Jude Bellingham from the penalty spot. The goals have dried up in recent matches, haven't they, for Jude Bellingham? Just 2 in his last 8, but he's back on the score sheet again from the penalty spot. As I say, 14 now for the season for the England international, but still a fine performance from the basement club Almeria this afternoon. Of course, it's only their second season back in the top flight. They narrowly avoided relegation last season. They've been in the bottom 2 for the whole of this season. But picked up an unexpected point at home to Girona last weekend. And we have more goal news now coming in from Madrid.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
I do not believe my eyes because Almeria have scored again. They've restored their 2-goal cushion. Quite incredible scenes there at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. It's now Real Madrid 1, Almeria 3. Quite incredibly, into the 63rd minute there. We'll hear all about that goal very shortly from Jamie McKeague. But Almeria with that 2-goal cushion restored, although VAR are just taking a look at it, we understand. So we will just hang fire on that for the moment. And, of course, just dot the I's and cross the T's for you very, very shortly. Let's just run through the latest scores in our featured matches for you once again that we have then. So Real Madrid 1, Almeria 3, the latest score there, although VAR looking into that 3rd goal for the visitors. Elsewhere, Celtic leading Bucky Thistle by 2-0. Into the Bundesliga we go, of course, our featured match, a shock result from the Allianz Arena. It finished Bayern 0. Bremen 1. That was a final score there. They are underway in the match between Borussia Mönchengladbach and Augsburg into the 9th minute there, and it remains goalless. Into Serie A we go. Some results from earlier on today. Frosinone 3, Cagliari 1, Empoli 3, Monza 0. Big win that for Empoli as they look to draw themselves clear of the bottom 3. And, of course, our featured match kicking off in 22 minutes' time sees Salernitana at the foot of the table at home to Genoa. Mark Thomas will be watching that for us here on Football Live, kicking off at 6 p.m. This evening. In La Liga, as you just heard, Real Madrid 1, Almeria 3. In fact, I can tell you that 3rd goal has been ruled out. So it remains Real Madrid 1, Almeria 2 following that VAR decision. We'll be back with Jamie McKeague very, very shortly to hear all about that. A result from earlier on today, Osasuna 3, Getafe 2. Barcelona in action later on tonight, kicking off at 6:30. They're away to Betis. And Girona, of course, also gunning for the La Liga title this season, are at home to Sevilla in a 9 p.m. kickoff. And into the Nigerian Premier League we go. A result from earlier on, Gombe 1, Bayelsa United 1. And these are all latest scores into the second halves. Aqua United 1, Enugu 0. Kano 2, Heartland 0 is the latest there. Kano have just gone 2 goals to the good. Lobby Stars 1, Plateau 0. Niger 0, Katsina United 0. Remo Stars 2, Abior Warriors 0. And Shooting Stars 0, Enyimba 1. Latest scores there for you from the Nigerian Premier League. Of course, in AFCON earlier on today, it finished Morocco 1, Democratic Republic of Congo 1. That was our featured match in Group F. Zambia and Tanzania kick off at 6 p.m. this evening. South Africa and Namibia in action tonight. And finally, in the Asian Cup, it ended goalless between Oman and Thailand, 0-0 in that game. Saudi Arabia and Kyrgyzstan in action later on today, kicking off at 6:30. Right, let's head straight back now to the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. Real Madrid against Almeria and Jamie McKeague. Wow, Almeria very nearly restoring their 2-goal cushion, but they're going to have to hang on as they still lead 2-1. And a few technical gremlins in the works there at the moment, but hopefully we'll be catching up with Jamie McKeague very, very shortly. But it remains Real Madrid 1, Almeria 2 in La Liga. As I said, of course, Serie A kicking off very, very shortly. Salernitana against Genoa, our featured match at the Stadio Arechi. I think we've sorted out the gremlins. However, before we do that, before we get back to Jamie McKeague, further goal news in the Scottish Cup.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Celtic in absolute cruise control at the moment with about 3 minutes or so to go until the interval. It's now Celtic 3, Bucky Thistle 0. Celtic 3, Bucky Thistle 0, the latest in the Scottish FA Cup fourth round. Right, let's head back to Jamie McKeague now for news of that goal that was ruled out by VAR for Almeria. But nevertheless, it's still been a great afternoon for the visiting supporters, Jamie. In fact, before we go to Jamie, I can tell you that there is further goal news now coming in from Madrid.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Real Madrid are now on level terms. It's Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2. And the Spanish Giants have drawn themselves level, having trailed, of course, in that game 2-0 at one stage. But they are now back on level terms. Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2. Jude Bellingham, of course, had reduced the deficit from the penalty spot. And Vinicius Jr., who, of course, scored a hat-trick in midweek, of course, or rather last weekend in the Spanish Super Cup final. He has made it 2 apiece in that game. Let's get news of that third goal now for Celtic at Celtic Park with Barry Swain.
Yeah, well, I think it was all over already, but it's now 3-0, bursting on the counter-attack down the right-hand side. It's a cross from Abada and a simple tap-in for Kyogo. But just a few moments earlier, Josh Peters went through one-on-one at the other end. Big chance for the non-leaguers, Bucky Thistle, to make it 2-1, but his shot was saved by the feet of Joe Hart. And I can tell you that Storm Isha is just about to bombard England and Scotland. It's already arrived in Scotland. It's wet and it's windy, and they've got more than one storm to deal with the second half still to come here, Bucky Thistle. Celtic 3, Bucky Thistle 0, and we've got about 2.5 minutes to go to half-time.
Yeah, difficult weather conditions all around the UK at the moment. I can tell you that VAR are looking at that equalising goal for Real Madrid. So we will keep tabs on that. It's all happening this afternoon, isn't it? It remains Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2, subject to that VAR check from involving that second goal for Real Madrid. As I said, an update to follow there. More goal news coming in from Celtic Park.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Well, in fact, it's been disallowed, and I think by my reckoning, is that a third disallowed goal, I think, that Celtic have had in their clash with Bucky Thistle in the Scottish Cup, Scottish FA Cup fourth round this afternoon. They, of course, lead by 3-0, but I think I might be right in saying that they've had 3 goals ruled out, so it could have been 6, but it remains Celtic 3, Bucky Thistle 0. As they approach half-time in that game. In fact, let's hear all about that now from Barry Swain. Barry, could be a cricket score, but at the moment, Bucky Thistle just keeping the score down at this moment in time.
Yeah, it could be 6. This one, clear cut, just having a look at the replay. 1, 2, 3, 4 Celtic players in offside positions as the ball was played through. Paulo Bernardo tapping in from the cross from Abada, but clearly offside. Kyogo's gone down injured as well. And you're quite right, 3 disallowed goals. Abada had a goal disallowed, Kyogo as well, and now a disallowed goal for Bernardo. So 3 disallowed goals, 3 goals that count. VAR also overturning a penalty claim early on. Celtic are in control. I suspect they might score more in the second half. 3-0.
Confirmation that second goal for Real Madrid does stand. So it is now Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2. What price Real now to go on and win that match? We'll try and give you some latest odds courtesy of NairaBet, of course, just as soon as we can here on Football Live. In fact, let's hear all about that equalising goal for Los Blancos from Jamie McKeague.
Wow, this game is going from 0 to 100 real quick. Real Madrid had the ball inside the final third, and the ball made its way out to the right-hand side, where Aurelien Tchouameni delivered a wonderful ball into the box. Vinicius Jr. is being marked by 2 Almeria centre-backs, but the ball seems to land on his shoulder, and it just bounces off his shoulder into the back of the net. I don't actually think he makes an attempt to even head the ball. It's almost like he moves his body towards the ball. It bounces off his shoulder, and it's actually, if it comes off its head, it's a great header. It is angled really well. Goalkeeper Maxi Miniano has absolutely no chance, but it's a really close call because it does bounce off his shoulder, and I don't think it comes off his arm, and I do think the correct decision has been made because, of course, a shoulder isn't a handball. It's tight, it's harsh. Almeria will probably feel hard done by, especially after the goal that was just disallowed, that I'm sure I might get onto eventually. But yeah, 70 minutes gone here. Absolutely everything has happened, and it is now Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2.
From the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brila FM.
Join on the corner where the big boys play.
Who's enjoying AFCON so far? Yeah. NairaBet is increasing your chances of winning with a 500 Naira free bet every day during the African Cup of Nations. With an extra free bet added every time you back the Super Eagles to win. All you need to do is visit nairabet.com, bet on 3+ selections, claim your daily free bet. 18+. Free bet for backing your country applies to only when betting on the day your country plays. Minimum 3 selections, at least 1 selection on AFCON. Minimum odds per selection 1.2. Minimum bet slip odds 1.5. Free bet will be valid for 7 days. General and free bet terms and conditions apply.
Football Live returns next Saturday on the Frequency of Champions, Brila FM. Ahead of the AFCON knockouts, we will be bringing you the very best FA Cup coverage.
All of the highest standard.
Can Africa-born manager George Elokobi cause an upset as non-league Maidstone United look to spring a surprise at in-form Ipswich Town?
And what a headache.
There are 3 other ties on our watch, including the All-Premier League clash at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United taking on last season's semi-finalists Brighton.
I think I ran back to the halfway line before anybody caught me.
Buckle up for a bit of Bundesliga too. Bayern Munich are in action. Can Augsburg stop Harry Kane and co?
Oh, it's studs right down his shin pad, isn't it?
Join us next Saturday, Football Live, back from 1:30 in the afternoon. FA Cup, AFCON, Bundesliga and more. We've got it covered right here, live on Brila FM.
What on earth is this?
Coming up soon on Football Live, a brand new signing.
It's me. Richard Parr.
That's right, a brand new presenter, Richard Parr, will be joining Football Live, exclusive to Brila FM this February.
Absolutely crazy.
Chelsea are playing like champions, so we'd love to get your thoughts as well. Part of me thinks that was all absolutely orchestrated.
Football Live on Brila FM. You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
And welcome back. It's 10 minutes to the hour, 6 o'clock on this Sunday edition of Football Live, and what a fantastic afternoon's entertainment we've had in the world of football. Of course, Bournemouth at home to Liverpool. Let's get an update now on that match at the Vitality Stadium from our reporter, Andrew Bullacore.
Fascinating game here, Chris. It's kind of levelled out a little bit. Liverpool are coming back into the game. It's strange because Bournemouth have dominated possession and danger, if you like, for the first 15 or so minutes. But whenever Liverpool get near the Bournemouth box, they actually look the more dangerous, and Bournemouth are having a harder time dealing with their front three. But it's only Liverpool who've had a shot on goal. They've had a couple of shots, neither on target so far, but Liverpool starting to turn the screw, having weathered that really amazing pressure from Bournemouth for the first 10 minutes. You would never have thought that Bournemouth were pushing to kind of get into the higher areas of the Premier League. You'd have thought that Bournemouth were the team that were top of the league rather than Liverpool based on the start. But Liverpool, as you'd expect from a team of their quality, have kind of grown into the game, settled things down, just playing the ball back quite neatly when they want to take the pressure off and slow things down to their pace. Bournemouth, as soon as they get the ball, they're absolutely bombing up front, and Solanke and Kluivert causing the likes of Van Dijk a couple of issues, but worrying sign potentially for Bournemouth is that Dominic Solanke was seen limping and hobbling as he came away from a challenge from the Liverpool captain. But so far, honours even, just gone 20 minutes here, and it's still Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 0.
Yeah, Dominic Solanke, of course, who became the first player in Bournemouth's Premier League history to win the Player of the Month award in December with the 6 goals that he scored on that occasion. Goal news coming in from La Liga.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Which way has it gone? Well, I can tell you, probably unsurprisingly, Real Madrid have come right back. They now lead 3-2, having been 2 goals down to the bottom place side. It is now Real Madrid 3, Almeria 2. No prizes for guessing who's got the 3rd goal. In fact, well, it was Jude Bellingham who placed it in the back of the net, but that has been ruled out. So it remains 2 apiece. Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2. The goal doesn't stand. We'll hear all about that from Jamie McKeague very shortly. Before we do, half-time whistle has gone at Celtic Park. And let's just check back in now with Barry Swain.
Yes, Chris, not sure if there's more disallowed goals at Real Madrid or here at Celtic. 3 disallowed goals in the first half for the SPFL runaway leaders, also the holders of the Scottish Cup, but they've also scored 3 legitimate goals as well. They took 25 minutes to get going. Paulo Bernardo chipping the first goal. Odin Thiago home, then slide footing home into the corner for number 2, and Kyogo with a tap in for 3. Interesting that Bucky Thistle have had one decent chance, but it was a chance that Josh Peters wasted one-on-one. Good save by Joe Hart. Interesting looking at the team sheet, by the way. Celtic, 11 starters, obviously 11 starters from 11 different countries. 1 Scotsman on there. For Bucky Thistle, every single one of their starting 11 and all 9 substitutes are Scottish. And the non-leaguers are on their way out of the Cup, but they're giving a good account of themselves at half-time in the driving rain and the stormy wind here at Celtic Park. It's Celtic 3, Bucky Thistle 0.
Yeah, we'll wait and see if the Bucky Thistle boss Graham Stewart can lift his side in the ahead of the second half. He's lucky to be in the dugout this afternoon, in fact, the Thistle boss Graham Stewart, because he was offered a 1-match ban following a straight red card in last weekend's Highland League match against Huntly, but he's been given them until Monday to decide whether or not to accept the suspension, which means he's on the touchline this afternoon. So what a great occasion for him and his club. They trail 3-0 at half-time, though. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM. Just confirmation that Real Madrid goal, of course, was ruled out. Let's hear all about it now from our reporter, Jamie McKeague.
This is never ending. I can't get over this. We thought Real Madrid had done it and came back, and I mean, the goal is vintage Real Madrid. It starts deep in Madrid's half, and Cruz plays an absolutely fantastic ball down the left-hand side for left back who came on at half-time, Francisco Garcia, to chase. Garcia matches Cruz's pass as he plays a wonderful cross to the edge of the box to pick out Jude Bellingham, and then Jude Bellingham wraps it into the top left-hand corner. A wonderful goal. But as Cruz was playing the pass, Garcia making a really good run down the left-hand side was offside, and I'll be honest, he was a couple of yards offside. The linesman flagged it straight away, and it was the correct decision. And I think, as VAR have made loads of decisions this game, but I will say one thing, I think VAR have been consistently quite good this game, which is something that is quite rare. We don't have to say that very often. A really good goal by Real Madrid, and to be fair, they've deserved it because they've been much better in this second half, but unfortunately it was ruled for offside. 79 minutes gone here at the Bernabeu. It remains Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2.
And Jamie, that's 2 goals now ruled out this afternoon following VAR checks, and of course the pivotal one coming just after the hour mark when Almeria, having been leading by 2-0, had a goal ruled out. They could have gone 3-0 up, but with just a little under 10 minutes remaining, do you think that, would you expect that Real Madrid have got enough about them to go on and take all 3 points this afternoon?
Definitely, yeah. I think the way Real Madrid are playing at the minute, they're playing like, and this is very cliche, but they're playing like champions. They have turned it up in this second half. I thought Joselu coming on at half-time and Brahim Diaz as well as Francisco Garcia were really good substitutions. They've added so much more directness and speed to their play. I thought Rodrigo in the first half, he's not a striker and he was playing in the striker role, so he was having to get into central spaces and stick in between the centre-backs. And that's uncomfortable for him, and you could tell by looking at him that he didn't enjoy doing it. But getting someone like Joselu, who's big and strong, he's a big target to aim at, it gives Real Madrid a focal point, and they can play through him and around him, and that's exactly what they've done. They've been absolutely fantastic in the second half, Real Madrid, and I did think they were really poor in the first half. So to be credit to Ancelotti and the Real Madrid players, they've turned it up in the second half, and do not be surprised, and I expect Real Madrid to get a third.
So it remains Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2. We've got all the latest betting odds courtesy of NairaBet coming up next here on Football Live.
Here's John Kane with all the very latest odds from NairaBet.
Yes, all the latest odds from NairaBet. Of course, all these prices are subject to change. About 9 minutes to go, plus stoppage time in the game in La Liga between Real Madrid and Almeria is 2-2, and we've seen disallowed goals. Real Madrid are 1.85 to win this game, 2.25 for the draw, and 17.0 for Almeria. They only need one more goal to win that game, so that's good odds on that. Liverpool game, still 0-0 away to Bournemouth. Bournemouth are just gone up to 4.33. The draw has just gone down to 3.75, and Liverpool away win has gone down to 1.85. In the German Bundesliga, 27 minutes gone. It's Borussia Mönchengladbach 1, Augsburg 0. Borussia Mönchengladbach now at 1.44 for the win. The draw is 4. In fact, it just got up to 5.0, and the away win for Augsburg has just gone down to 7.0. The other game that is starting very, very shortly, and that is between Salernitana and Genoa, which we'll be covering that very, very shortly. 2 minutes to kick off. Salernitana are 3.20 for the home win. The draw is 3.0, and away win for Genoa is 2.50. Just quickly go back to the La Liga game, just to remind you, 8 minutes to go plus stoppage time. Real Madrid to win are 1.91, the draw is 2.20, and away win for Almeria is 17.0. Of course, all these prices are from NairaBet and is all subject to change.
Many thanks to our betting expert John Kane with all the latest betting odds there, courtesy of NairaBet. And as John just mentioned, we have action in Italian Serie A kicking off in about 2 minutes' time. It's our featured game at the Stadio Arecci. Salernitana against Genoa, and keeping tabs for that match for us this evening here on Football Live, we welcome back Mark Thomas.
Again, welcome to Salerno Arecci Stadium here. Salernitana in 20th place. Manager Filippo Ngazzi's made 3 changes from the team that lost 2-1 to Napoli recently. Fazio, Sambia and Wanko go out. Tom Bassett, Rosen, Bruno Maguire and central line looking for goals today. Genoa, meanwhile, they also make 3 changes from the new with Torino recently. The winter is suspended, so Fagliaccio takes the spot in the middle of the back 3. Frendrup and Strootman come in. Don't forget, there's no Dragusin for Genoa since the £26.5 million transfer to Spurs. It's like a cracking game, and we're awaiting the kickoff.
Thanks very much, Mark, and apologies for the bit of a line break-up there, but that's Salernitana at home to Genoa, kicking off in a little under a minute's time or so as we head back to the Vitality Stadium, approaching the half-hour mark. Bournemouth against Liverpool. Any signs of either of these sides breaking the deadlock? Andrew Bonifore.
Absolutely, Chris. Sorry to step on you there, but it really has turned around. Liverpool are getting into the Bournemouth box at least once a minute, and then getting in there with some danger. Not quite the amount of quality that you need to really score, but Bournemouth holding on quite well. Darwin Núñez, I've got to say, he's picking up good positions. He's driving into that penalty box, but when he gets to the edge of the box, he just wants to play the same shot all the time, and it's not working out for him. So it's getting a little bit frustrating for Darwin Núñez, but going forward, Liverpool are a different team to how they were in the first 15-20 minutes. As I say, they're getting into that Bournemouth box a great deal, using the wide positions to great effect. I'd be very surprised if Liverpool at least didn't score before half-time. Bournemouth now the team that are trying to kind of get back in the game as they started the game so well. But it's been a little bit topsy-turvy. It's swung one way then the other. Currently it's Liverpool who are on top, but with just half an hour gone, it's Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 0.
Into the fourth hour of this evening's edition of Football Live here on Brilla FM, 1 minute past 6. Let's head back now to the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium in Madrid. Real Madrid against Almeria, and Real, not surprisingly, really going for it as they look to get a winner in this game. Jamie McKeague.
Oh, and they should have got it. It should have been 3. Toni Kroos once again plays a superb pass to pick out Brahim Diaz, who made a darting run in behind. Diaz takes the ball down really well on his chest and then tries to turn to get onto his stronger right foot. The touch just slips away from him, but unfortunately for him, falls at the feet of Vinicius Jr. from about 5 yards out, and there isn't many you would want it to fall to from about 5 yards out than Vinicius Jr. But his shot is just smashed straight at Maximiliano, and it falls to Vinny so quick that all he can do is just slash at it, but he should have scored, and the reaction from him and the Real Madrid players, they all can agree with me that he should have scored. Jude Bellingham almost outdid Edgar Gonzalez's volley in the first half as he attempted a bicycle kick. It just slashed past the post, but I said to you about 5 minutes ago, I expect Real Madrid to get a third. Can almost guarantee Real Madrid can get a third. And I can't guarantee many things, but the way this game is going, I think we're in for a winner. 86 minutes gone here at the Bernabeu. It is still Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2.
We've had a very early goal at the Stadio Arecci in Salerno.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Salernitana, bottom of the table. They are leading at home to Genoa by 1-0. The Argentinian midfielder Agustin Martegani has opened the scoring there for Salernitana. Let's hear all about it now from Mark Thomas.
Well, it's a very, very bright start, isn't it? As you mentioned, Martegani has scored the goal, a sort of a toe poke in from in and around the 6-yard box. The cross came across from the left-hand side from Croatian Bradaric, and he just poked it in, and it's a fast-flying start for them. We just got 4 minutes on the clock here, and it's already Salernitana 1, Genoa 0.
Great start then for Salernitana. Just looking at the table in Serie A, as I said, they are in desperate need of points. They've only won 2 matches all season, and going into the game, they were 6 points adrift of safety. As I say, they desperately need a win this afternoon, which would certainly reduce the deficit between themselves and Cagliari, who are currently in 17th spot in the table. In Serie A, leading Genoa by 1-0. Title race really hotting up now in Serie A. It's a 2-horse race, really, isn't it, between Inter and Juventus. Juventus in action later on this evening when they face Lecce in an 8:45 kickoff. And they have an opportunity to go to the summit of Serie A if they can get all 3 points in that match this evening. Inter's last title, of course, was 3 seasons ago. Juventus last secured the Scudetto 4 seasons ago, which you'll probably remember secured an unprecedented 9th consecutive title for the club. As I say, they meet Lecce kicking off at 8:45 this evening. Inter not in action in Serie A this weekend, having played on Friday night in the Italian Super Cup, where they meet Napoli in Monday's final in Saudi Arabia. And no doubt about the highlight in Serie A in a couple of weeks. 2 weeks today, Sunday the 4th of February, Inter at home to Juventus at the San Siro. Yeah, you're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM. In AFCON, they have kicked off in the match between Zambia and Tanzania into the 5th minute there of that match. And it currently remains Zambia 0, Tanzania 0 in Group F there. Of course, our featured match in the same group earlier on today ended 1 apiece between Morocco and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Let's recap some other latest scores for you, starting off, of course, with our featured matches currently in play. Celtic leading Bucky Thistle by 3-0. They have just kicked off in the second half there, but Celtic 3 goals to the good as it stands at the moment. We'll be crossing back over to Barry Swain very shortly for further updates there. In the Bundesliga, of course, Bayern surprisingly beaten at home by Bremen by 1-0. It's currently Mönchengladbach 1, Augsburg 0, with about 10 minutes or so of the first half remaining there. In Serie A, as we know, Salernitana leading Genoa by 1-0. Other latest scores to give you as they reach stoppage time at the Santiago Bernabéu Stadium in Madrid. It remains Real Madrid 2, Almeria 2, but I'm being told 11 minutes of injury time added there. We'll be catching up with Jamie McKeague very, very shortly. And in the Nigerian Premier League, these are all final scores from the action that's taken place today. Gombe 1, Bayelsa United 1, Aqua United 1, Enugu 0, Kano 2, Heartland 1, Lobby Stars 1, Plateau 0, Niger 0, Katsina United 0, Remo Stars 2, Abia Warriors 1, and Shooting Stars 1, and Yimba 2. They are all final scores. And we will be crossing over to FJ and the crew in Nigeria in about 20 minutes' time for all of your social media comments on all the action that's taken place today in the world of football. And there's been plenty of that as well. So many talking points. Let's head now back to the Vitality Stadium for an update on Bournemouth's clash with Liverpool as we rejoin Andrew Bullacore.
Yes, it's still Liverpool who are on top, and as I say, their kind of drip approach to moving towards the Bournemouth box is working. It's Justin Kluivert though. I think he could be in a little bit of trouble. He's put Luis Diaz on the deck, and play carried on for a while. The Liverpool team continued, even though Luis Diaz was clearly in a great deal of pain on the floor. And I just felt like Kluivert had a guilty look on his face. I've been waiting for the VAR review to pop up, but there's no review at all. Kluivert went over the top of the ball, and he caught the Liverpool man kind of halfway up his shin with all studs available, catching the Liverpool player. So I'm really surprised that there was no VAR review at all. Play seems to have continued with no action taken against Kluivert, but I've got to say he's extremely lucky. I thought that was a clear red card, so I'm really quite stunned that didn't go to at least a VAR review. If the referee had seen what actually transpired on the screen, I'm fairly sure he would have taken red card action. But Liverpool still getting closer and closer and closer to that Bournemouth goal, and I think it's Liverpool who seem the most likely to score here. But so far, no goal scorers, as we're just counting into the last 5 minutes of normal time at the Vitality Stadium. It's still Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 0.
It is, of course, the third clash between these two sides this season in the reverse fixture back in August. Liverpool winning 3-1 on that occasion. Alexis McAllister, you may recall, sent off in that game. And, of course, Liverpool dumped Bournemouth out of the EFL Cup when the sides met right at the beginning of November, as they won 2-1 on that occasion. At the moment, goalless, as you just heard there from our Football Live reporter, Andrew Bullacore. You listen to Football Live here on Brilla FM. If you weren't aware, earlier on today, it finished Sheffield United 2, West Ham 2 at Bramall Lane. A quite incredible game. West Ham went ahead through Maxwell Cornet in the 28th minute. That was cancelled out by an equalising goal from Ben Brereton Diaz on his debut just before the break to make it 1 apiece. West Ham restored their lead from the penalty spot in the 79th minute, courtesy of Jamie Ward-Prowse. And then into stoppage time, Ryan Brewster was sent off for Sheffield United as they trailed 2-1. And then Vladimir Koufal also receiving his marching orders for a second yellow card into stoppage time. And then in the 103rd minute, would you believe? Yes, the 103rd minute, Ollie McBurney securing a point for the Blades from the penalty spot. as it finished Sheffield United 2, West Ham 2. Further goal news from Celtic Park.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Well, I would say which way has it gone, but you probably wouldn't be surprised to know that Celtic are now leading Bucky Thistle by 4-0. They've scored a fourth just 5 minutes after the restart. Celtic 4, Bucky Thistle 0 is the latest score in that game there from Celtic Park. Just to remind you, we'll be back with our team in Nigeria in about 15 minutes' time or so here on Football Live on Brilla FM. Plenty of action, of course, to look forward to next weekend as well here. It is, of course, FA Cup 4th round weekend as well. We will be across all the action taking place on Saturday with a number of matches to look forward to in the FA Cup. Ipswich Town, of course, at home to Maidstone United of course, the National League South. What an incredible run they've had in the FA Cup as they make the trip to Portman Road next weekend. We'll have that match covered for you here on Football Live. Elsewhere, we'll also be covering Everton against Luton Town, the all Premier League clash at Goodison Park. Leeds United at home to Plymouth, coverage of that as well. And Sheffield United at home to Brighton. All of those FA Cup 4th round ties being covered for you here on Football Live next Saturday. And in addition to that, a couple of other matches to look forward to in the Scottish Premiership. St Mirren at home to Rangers and Augsburg at home to Bayern Munich, who, of course, will be looking to pick up points next weekend, having dropped them this weekend following that surprise defeat at home to Bremen earlier on this afternoon. I can tell you in AFCON, a latest score to give you is Zambia 0, Tanzania 1. Zambia 0, Tanzania 1.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Simon Nsuva with the goal there for Tanzania to give them the lead in the 12th minute. Let's head now back to the match taking place at Celtic Park. The news of that 4th goal for the Hoops. Here's Barry Swain.
Yeah, the sharing of goals out here. Celtic adding a 4th. Luis Palma, the Honduras international, probably the best of the bunch, to be honest. He's cutting from the right-hand side and he's unleashed a power driver low and hard into the corner past the goalkeeper for Bucky Thistle. It's a case of how many can Celtic muster up. They've scored 4. They've had 3 disallowed as well, and a penalty appeal turned down by VAR, but they're comfortable. They're on top. They're all over the non-leaguers at the moment. We're, just coming up to 7 minutes into the second half. It's now Celtic 4, Bucky Thistle 0.
2 minutes of normal first half time remaining in the Premier League clash at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth against Liverpool. And I believe that the Cherries have had their first shot on target in that game. Andrew Bonacore.
Yes, it was Ryan Christie cutting in from the right-hand side, but not the greatest of shots. Easily picked up by Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson. It's Bournemouth have kind of been reduced to counter-attacking because the pressure from Liverpool, I wouldn't quite call it relentless, but whenever they get the ball, they are really kind of overloading and hitting those front three with a lot of support from out wide. So Liverpool are attacking very well. They're extremely positive. They're bombing forward right now. But then when Bournemouth do pick up the ball in defensive areas, they're hitting the channels immediately as well. So it's almost end-to-end stuff, but it's amazing that's shot from Christie after 40-odd minutes. Is Bournemouth's first shot on target, and the first time really that Alisson has had to do any work at all in that Liverpool goal. But it's an interesting game. I'll be surprised if we stay 0-0 for the rest of the match. But so far at the Vitality Stadium, it's Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 0. The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's come at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. Real Madrid have scored a third and appear to be taking all 3 points. What an incredible match that has been this evening here on Football Live. It's now Real Madrid 3, Almeria 2, deep into stoppage time. In fact, in the 99th minute of the game. And Los Blancos now lead by 3-2. That will be a very important goal indeed, because as it stands, it means that Real Madrid will remain top of the table. Girona, of course, in action later on this evening when they are at home to Sevilla. But a late goal there for Real Madrid, who, of course, trailed 2-0 to the side placed bottom in La Liga. But they've turned the match on its head, and they now lead by 3-2. Let's hear all about it from our reporter, Mark Thomas. In fact, sorry, before we get to Mark, let's getting my reporters mixed up here. Jamie McKee with news of that third goal for Real Madrid. Jamie.
You can never write off the Galacticos. You can never write off Real Madrid, and it is a Real Madrid legend in Dani Carvajal that gets the winner. The shirt's off, the Bernabeu is bouncing, and Real Madrid look to have stolen all 3 points from 2-0 down to come back to win 3-2 is just absolutely amazing. And it was another Real Madrid counter-attack. Eduardo Camavinga does really well. He wins the ball back inside Real Madrid's first phase. He carries it brilliantly into the midfield. He then gives it off to Jude Bellingham, who switches the play across to Dani Carvajal. Carvajal then gives it out to the right-hand side. And then it was put into the box. Jude Bellingham puts a header across goal, and Dani Carvajal is at the back post to poke it home. Sorry, it was Brahim Diaz to put it into the box. Bellingham put a header across goal, and Dani Carvajal was there at the back post like a little poacher to poke it home and give Real Madrid all 3 points. It's harsh because there's been so many disallowed goals in Almeria. We're so good in the first half, but you have to credit Real Madrid. They deserve it. I said a third goal was coming, and it's come. It wasn't commentator's curse this time. What a game we've had in our hands. 100 minutes gone here at the Bernabeu. It is now, for the first time in the match, Real Madrid 3, Almeria 2.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And this time it has come at the Stadio Arecci. Genoa are back on level terms. Salernitana 1, Genoa 1. Here's Mark Thomas.
Absolutely brilliant goal here for Genoa. Ratugi and Bajali, the captain, played a lovely, sumptuous 1-2 in and around the box. A little volleyed one, very clever from Bajali. Ratugi ran into the penalty area, rifled a shot, top left-hand corner, absolute screamer. Ochoa had absolutely no chance whatsoever. Of course, Matteo Ratugi, the Italian international, that's his 6th goal of the season. And we've got a lively game here. After 15 minutes gone, it is Salernitana 1, Genoa 1, and that's not easy for me to say.
And the excitement certainly getting to Mark Thomas there. Salernitana 1, Genoa 1. From Serie A, with approaching 18 minutes of the match play there. That's our featured match in Serie A. We have had yet another disallowed goal at Celtic Park. Here's Barry Swain.
Yes, it's disallowed goals for Celtic 4, Bucky Thistle 0. Bucky just had a penalty appeal, a long penalty appeal looked at by VAR. VAR being very, very busy this afternoon. It was not a penalty in the end. It was a bit of a nudge, but not enough really. It would probably been a free kick in the middle of the park. Celtic's 5th goal, which was ruled out, was quite simple finish really from Abada. He was offside, he was flagged, and then VAR decided to check it. That took about 3 minutes when clearly he was offside. So Celtic still only 4 goals to the good, but very, very comfortable in the rain and the wind. Celtic 4, Bucky Thistle 0.
Half-time whistle has blown at the Vitality Stadium. Did they both go in level at the break? Andrew Bullacore.
Absolutely, it's 0-0 here at half-time, and it's been quite a fascinating first half, to be fair. Bournemouth started this game absolutely on fire, determined to take the game to the league leaders and not sit back. And after 15 minutes, it had been all cherries in Liverpool with the team under pressure, but the visitors took control from then on. Darwin Núñez in particular causing problems down the Liverpool left, but really a lack of quality prevented him from putting any real pressure on the Bournemouth keeper. Bournemouth have had a couple of attempts on goal. Alisson saving from Christie, and when Kluivert hammered the ball across, really I think that was the best chance of the game. Christie again couldn't quite get on the end of it, and despite the goal opening up in front of him, he just scraped his studs on the ball and it went out for a goal kick to Liverpool. Really entertaining fare here on display at the Vitality Stadium, but no goals so far. I'd expect something from either side. Probably Liverpool just on top at this point, but at half-time, it's Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 0.
So goalless then at the Vitality Stadium. Liverpool, of course, will be looking to extend their lead to 5 points at the top of the Premier League table this evening with a win. But at the moment, Bournemouth are holding them. Of course, they don't have the best record, as we've already alluded to, against the Reds. They've lost 8 of their last 9 matches between these two sides, and they've only ever won 2 of 21 against Liverpool as well. But at the moment, goalless at the break. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM, back with FJ and the team in about 5 minutes' time or so as we cross back over to Nigeria. A full-time whistle has blown at the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. How did it end, Jamie McKee?
It finishes with Real Madrid taking home all 3 points. Who would have thought it at halftime? I certainly didn't, because it is an incredibly cliche, but this was a game of 2 halves. In the first half, Almeria were excellent. They scored really early on, but they didn't just sit behind the ball. They went for it. They put Real Madrid under the cosh. They pressed very well. They defended very well. And as good as Almeria were, I thought Real Madrid in that first half were absolutely awful. They were wasteful, they were desperate, and they lacked composure, which is very unlike them. And I thought the way they were playing didn't suit the players they had on the pitch. But in the second half, Carlo Ancelotti proved why he is an elite level manager and why he's one of the best to have ever done it, because he made some changes that I thought were game changers, and Real Madrid came out in that second half a totally different team. They were direct, they played with purpose, and they started creating a lot of clear-cut chances. I thought Garcia, who came on for Ferland Mendy at half-time at left-back, was very good. Joselu, like I've already mentioned throughout this report, was such a good outlet for Real Madrid, and Jude Bellingham and Vinicius Jr. shone in the second half, and they went a little bit missing in that first half. I will mention just towards the end, because we've touched on the goals and the disallowed goals so many times, and Almeria fans will go home a little bit disappointed. Vinicius Jr.'s shoulder goal was a little contentious, and the goal that was disallowed that would have made it 3-1 at the time was a little contentious as well. So VAR had a big part to play, but I think all in all, I think they made the correct decisions. I will say in the 93rd minute, Gaisca Gorientano, who was Almeria's 3rd manager this season, was sent to the stands after doing too much yapping, and referee Francisco Jose Hernandez wasn't having it. All in all, Real Madrid, after 104 minutes of football, saw it out and got the job done. And like I said, that is what champions do. An absolutely phenomenal game and a well-earned 3 points. But I have to say one thing: Almeria shouldn't hold their head, should hang their heads high, and shouldn't hang their heads in shame. They should hold their heads high, because they were excellent today, and they deserve something from this game. Real Madrid, in the end, showed their class.
Thanks very much to our reporter this evening from Madrid. That's Jamie McKeague, where Real Madrid ended up taking all 3 points there, enough to take them back to the top of La Liga, 2 points clear of Girona, who, of course, are in action later on this evening at home to Sevilla. Almeria, of course, rooted to the foot of the table, 2 up this evening against Real, but in the end defeated by 3-2. They, of course, took a point off Girona last weekend as well, but still in search of their first win in La Liga this season, and they are 10 points adrift of safety. Just going back to the top of La Liga, Girona, as I said, 2 points behind Real, but they can go top again tonight. Atletico Bilbao and Barcelona level on points in 3rd and 4th positions, respectively, in La Liga. You listen to Football Live here on Brilla FM. And about a couple of minutes' time or so, we'll be heading back to our colleagues in Nigeria for all of your social media comments on all the action that's taken place this weekend. Of course, there was plenty of that. There was plenty of action, of course, in the Premier League yesterday, wasn't there, with Arsenal blitzing 5 past Crystal Palace to win by 5-0 and put themselves back into the title race after a bit of a shaky end to 2023. And we had a great 5-goal thrill, of course, at the GTEC Stadium yesterday as well, with Brentford beating Nottingham Forest by 3-2. Ivan Toney back in the lineup again, of course, after his 8-month absence, and in amongst the goals as well. A really big win that was for Brentford. And of course, earlier on today, Sheffield United and West Ham battling out a 2-2 draw. West Ham going ahead in that game. But, of course, Sheffield United finally getting a point with a late penalty in the 93rd minute, courtesy of Ollie McBurney. There is, of course, further action taking place tomorrow in the Premier League with Brighton at home to Wolves, and we'll just be previewing that game a little bit later on here on Football Live on Brilla FM. But right now, at 25 minutes past 6, we head back over to FJ and our colleagues in Nigeria for all of your social media comments, and we'll be back with you very shortly here on Football Live.
Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin. The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And early into the second half, the deadlock has been broken at the Vitality Stadium. Which way has this goal gone? Let's find out. Andrew Bonacore.
It's gone to Liverpool, Chris, but this wasn't football. This was ping pong. Wonderful first touch passes, pinging the ball across the Bournemouth goal. The ball ended up at the feet of Darwin Núñez, who I said had been very wasteful in the first half, but he came in off the left-hand side, and after a lovely one-touch exchange between Harvey Elliott and Luis Diaz, it was Darwin Núñez who just passed the ball past the Bournemouth keeper just inside the far post. Simple as you like, a beautifully executed goal, and Darwin Núñez with the kind of quality finish that we don't necessarily associate with him, but this time he absolutely executed, and he's put Liverpool ahead. Early in the second half, it's Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 1. The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And further goal news coming in from the Scottish FA Cup, Barry Swain.
Yeah, Celtic 5, Bucky Thistle 0. Not a familiar name on the goal scoring sheet though. Rocco Vata. He's a young teenager, 18 years of age, from Ireland, and he's just scored his first goal. It was a simple tap-in, and it owes much to another young Irish player that came on as a sub down the right-hand side, Michael Johnson. Brilliant run down the right-hand side, beat one, beat two, got to the byline, pulled it back, and his fellow Irishman was there to say thank you very much, and just promptly prodded the ball home with 15 minutes to go. It's been a while since Celtic has scored. They've got 5 now, plus the 4 that were disallowed earlier on. It's been a coaster of an afternoon, I should say, for Celtic. It was expected against the non-leaguers, and they've made light work of them. 5-0, still time for more, and just making a couple of subs at the moment, Celtic, and they lead by 5-0, Chris.
Well, a match that will, I'm sure, long live in the memory of Bucky Thistle supporters, but trailing by 5-0, as you just heard. And, of course, just to recap, Liverpool now leading at Bournemouth by 1-0. Darwin Núñez with a goal early into the second half there at the Vitality Stadium. Let's just check in now with Mark Thomas at the Stadio Arechi Stadium in Salernitana against Genoa. They're just approaching half-time there, Mark.
They are, and it's a lively, very lively encounter this afternoon here. Very enjoyable for the neutral eye. Both teams with great attacking intent. Lots of half chances. Chachuana had a great shot from outside the box after about 25 minutes. It whizzed past the angle of the crossbar on the post with Martinez completely. Very powerful effort. Lacked that final bit of curl. We've had a Rateria header from a Minovsky cross. Ochoa saved that easily. A couple of small chances either side, very well balanced. After 39 minutes, it's still Salernitana 1, Genoa 1.
So still all level then at the Stadio Arechi. Just a reminder, Juventus in action tonight, kicking off at 8:45 p.m. A chance to go to the top of Serie A with a win at Lecce this evening. Let's just recap a couple of other latest scores for you in AFCON. Approaching half-time, Zambia 0, Tanzania 1. That, of course, is in Group F. Earlier on today in our featured match, Morocco and the Democratic Republic of Congo battled out a 1-1 draw. Of course, there's plenty of action taking place in the Premier League tomorrow evening, where Brighton are at home to Wolves at the Amex. As I say, they kick off tomorrow night. We're just going to bring John Kane back in now as we look ahead to that encounter taking place tomorrow. John, it's an interesting battle, this, between two sides that, on reflection, have had a very decent season in the Premier League thus far.
Absolutely, and all credits go to Gary O'Neill for Wolves and De Zerbi for Brighton. It's very hard to predict who's going to win, don't you? Really, both teams are really good form. Brighton only lost one in the last 5, but that was away to Arsenal, and Wolves won 4 out of the 5, and they drew 1, and that was against Brentford in the FA Cup. It's going to be a very exciting game because Brighton love enjoying football, and Wolves under Gary O'Neill, they're really... I used to find the Espirito Santo's football really good, but it was a bit lax of excitement, wasn't it, in a way, under him, even though we were very stable. And I think with Gary O'Neill, he gave it a bit extra edge of going forward and playing football, and as he proved as well when he was at Bournemouth. So it's going to be a very exciting game to see, that's for sure. And especially when you look at the standing of both teams. Brighton are 8th, Wolves are 11th. It's only 3 points between them, so a win for Wolves would take them level on points with Brighton. Obviously, it depends on the goal difference if they win that game as well. And obviously, that game is in the Amex, is at Brighton, so they will be slightly favourites when it comes to that.
Wolves certainly won't want to be remembered about the last time they went down to the South Coast and played Brighton at the Amex when they were hammered by 6-0 on that occasion. You suspect that probably won't be the same scoreline tomorrow?
No, I don't think it's going to be the same scoreline tomorrow. And I'm looking at some of the players, Undaf, who scored a couple that day. Well, he's not with them anymore. Welbeck, he scored twice, and Pascal Gross scored twice as well. I mean, you probably think Welbeck probably will score based on that. But I think Wolves at the time, it was a different team, wasn't it? And now the way Wolves are running at the moment, they're very, very good defensively. And they definitely cause threats up front. And if you cause threats up front, it's probably the best way to defend is attack. And that's what Wolves been doing lately. So I don't think... I'll be very surprised if there's a repeat of that scoreline of 6-0.
That's Brighton taking on Wolves at the Amex tomorrow. The stats weighing very heavily against Wolves. They've only registered 6 wins over Brighton in 39 league meetings between the two sides. Brighton have won the last 4 successive meetings between them as well. Early team news, Brighton defender Igor is expected to return from an Achilles injury. Julio Enciso, Ansu Fati, Tariq Lamptey and Joel Veltman all remain sidelined. As for Wolves, Pedro Neto could make his first start since October. That will be a huge bonus for Gary O'Neill's side. But Joao Gomez is suspended. Hwang Hee-chan, Ryan Ayat-Nouri and Boubacar Traore, of course, all on international duty at the moment. As I say, that's Brighton against Wolves in the Premier League, kicking off tomorrow evening. In the Premier League at the moment, of course, Bournemouth at home to Liverpool. Into the second half in that game. Of course, let's get an update now from our reporter, Andrew Bonacore, and some substitution news, Andrew.
Yes, Bournemouth going early with their subs. Iraola trying to basically shore up their defence and try and get hold of and keep hold of the ball in the second half. It's absolutely fascinating, Chris, because the second half has been exactly the same as the first half, but with the actors reversed. Liverpool absolutely all over Bournemouth and really very, very dominant. 80% possession for Liverpool, compared to obviously 20% for Bournemouth. That is utter domination. So Iraola has decided he's got to try and change something, get a couple of ball players onto the ball to try and stem this flow. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be very difficult for Bournemouth, because Liverpool now they've got the goal under their belt. They've really have sensed blood, I think, and I wouldn't say that Bournemouth are there for the taking, because they're not the Bournemouth that we knew, losing 9-0 a couple of seasons ago. They're a Bournemouth who are very much on form, but at the moment, Liverpool are really teaching them a lesson and showing them what it's like to be top of the league. But it's only 12 minutes gone in the second half. Liverpool on top, and it's Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 1.
News coming in from the Africa Cup of Nations. Zambia against Tanzania. Tanzania were, of course, a goal to the good in that game. They may have a possible penalty as well, and Zambia have been reduced to 10 men now in that match, with Roderick Kabwe being sent off for a second bookable offence. So Zambia really up against it at the moment. In fact, no penalty has been given, but Zambia reduced to 10 men now and trailing against Tanzania in that Group F fixture by a 1-0 as they approach half-time there. They're also approaching half-time. In fact, I think they might have reached half-time in our feature match in Serie A this evening. Salernitana against Genoa. And here's Mark Thomas.
Yes, just creeping up towards half-time here, Chris. A very balanced game. Salernitana. Here we go again. Salernitana, rather. There you go. For them, Basic and Broderic, the two Croatians, they've been controlling things in midfield, spreading the ball about very nicely. On the other side of the spectacle here, Retegi looking to get on the end of anything and everything that gets into the box for Genoa. Very, very busy. They're getting some balls through to him, but nothing that's caused great alarms just yet. We've had a yellow card handed to the captain for Genoa, Badel. He's going to miss the very, very next game. It is coming. It is actually half-time now. It is still 1-1.
So still one apiece there. In fact, they have reached half-time now. That is a half-time scoreline for you. Salernitana 1, Genoa 1 at the Stadio Arecci. A couple of results to give you from earlier on today in Serie A. Frosinone 3, Cagliari 1, Empoli 3, Monza 0. Big win that for Empoli to give themselves a little bit of clear daylight between themselves and the bottom three. And Juventus are in action later on this evening, kicking off at 8:45 when they travel to Lecce, and a chance for them to go to the summit of Serie A if they can beat their opponents this evening. Inter, of course, not in action this weekend. They're involved in the Italian Super Cup in Saudi Arabia. So Juventus with a great opportunity to go to the top of the pile this evening if they can beat Lecce later on. A couple of other latest scores to give you. Barcelona are in action at the moment, currently goalless in their match at Betis. And of course, earlier on today, Real Madrid came from 2-0 down at home to the bottom club, Almeria, to win by 3-2. What an incredible game that was. Almeria 2-0 up in that match at half-time. But then Real Madrid pulling through. Jude Bellingham pulling a goal back just before the hour mark from the penalty spot. They equalised through Vinicius Jr. in the 67th minute. And then in the 99th minute, would you believe, a goal from Daniel Carvajal to ensure that Real Madrid clinched all 3 points. And that means, of course, they go back to the top of La Liga. Osasuna 3, Getafe 2 is how it finished earlier on today. And, of course, Girona are in action tonight at home to Sevilla, kicking off at 9 p.m. And they could go back to the top of the table with a win. They're currently 2 points behind Real Madrid as it stands at the moment. That kicks off later on this evening. And, of course, I'm giving you news of the latest from AFCON in that Group F match. Zambia trailing at home to Tanzania by 1-0 as they approach half-time, and Zambia down to 10 men in that game. They are approaching full-time in the Scottish FA Cup 4th round. Celtic against Bucky Thistle. It's been a great afternoon for Bucky Thistle. They've kept the score down, I think it's fair to say. Barry Swain.
Yes, they have, partly thanks to assistant referees, flags, and VAR. 4 goals disallowed for Celtic, plus the 5 goals that have been allowed, and it's basically defence against attack. But they have lined up with a 5-4-1 today, and they've defended rigidly, stoutly. We're moving into 1 minute of added time, so it looks like they're going to get away with a 5-0, which I suppose wouldn't have been a bad result at the beginning of the game. If they were asked, would you take a 5-0, then they would have probably said yes to non-leaguers, and they've got a really good account of themselves. They could have had that goal as well in the first half. A shot from Josh Peters saved by goalkeeper Joe Hart in the Celtic goal. He's not had a lot more to do other than that, and Celtic are about 30 seconds away from victory. Celtic 5, Bucky Thistle 0.
Bucky Thistle, of course, 4 divisions below Celtic, but at the moment Celtic cruising through to the 5th round of the Scottish FA Cup. It remains Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 1 with 63.5 minutes played. Darwin Núñez's early strike in the second half still separating the two sides. We'll be back with our reporter Andrew Bonacore very, very shortly for a further update on that game. I can tell you in AFCON, Zambia were looking for a penalty. It went to VAR. It wasn't given. And at half-time in that Group F encounter, it is Zambia 0, Tanzania 1. Zambia 0, Tanzania 1. South Africa and Namibia do battle this evening in a 9 p.m. kickoff in AFCON. That's later on tonight. Right, let's head back now to the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth against Liverpool. Further changes being made in that game. Andrew Bonacore.
Yes, this time Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp has rung a couple of changes. He's brought on Gravenberch for Harvey Elliott, who hasn't had a great game in all fairness, and Cody Gakpo coming on for Luis Diaz. Diaz, quite the opposite, has had a decent performance for Liverpool. The game has quietened down. It's kind of settled down and evened up a bit. Bournemouth even having the ball in the Liverpool penalty box a couple of times. But it's been interesting. A feature of the game has been how often Liverpool have struggled from set pieces, defensive set pieces, whenever Bournemouth have had a free kick to lump into the box. But particularly, Bournemouth's corners have caused Liverpool some troubles just as Alisson comes out and rolls the ball or allows the ball to go out for a goal kick. So yes, two changes made on both sides. In terms of play, currently fairly even Stevens, but in terms of the scoreline, it remains Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 1.
I can tell you that Ferran Torres has given Barcelona the lead at Betis. Betis 0, Barcelona 1 is the latest score there. Full-time whistle has blown at Celtic Park. Celtic against Bucky Thistle. Here's Barry Swain.
Yes, par for the course. Celtic 5, non-league Bucky Thistle 0. It took them 24 minutes to get the goal to break the ice. Paolo Bernardo with a cheeky little chip over the goalkeeper. That was made by Matt Riley, who is hot property for Celtic at the moment. Look out for him. He could well be moving to the Premier League in January, if not next summer. He made the second as well for Odin Home. Kyoga tapped in number 3. Luis Palmer with the pick of the bunch of Honduran with a driving effort to make it 4. And then the teenager from Ireland, Rocco Vata, made it 5. They had 4 goals disallowed, and they also had a penalty turned away by VAR. At the other end, there was one chance for the non-leaguers. Josh Peters threw 1-on-1, but saved by Joe Hart. It's a windy old day. Stormisha taking grip of Glasgow. Celtic Park almost empty by the final whistle. They've all made a dash for home. Who can blame them? This one was over before the half-time whistle had blown. Full-time whistle has now blown. Celtic 5, Bucky Thistle 0.
I can tell you that in the Bundesliga it's now Borussia Mönchengladbach 1, Augsburg 2. Augsburg have taken the lead in that encounter. I think the full-time whistle has gone in our featured match in Serie A this afternoon between half-time. In fact, it's half-time, I should say, Salernitana against Genoa. Of course, it is 1-1 at half-time. The second half will be resuming very, very shortly. But just to confirm, at half-time, Salernitana 1, Genoa 1 is the latest score for you there. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM. In the latest in the Asian Cup, I can tell you it's Saudi Arabia 0, Kyrgyzstan 0, but a red card for Kyrgyzstan. They're down to 10 men already in that game. They've only played 25 minutes. In fact, it was Azar Akhmatov who received a straight red after just 8 minutes of that game. So Kyrgyzstan really up against it at the moment. Currently goalless with Saudi Arabia, and of course a result from earlier on today where it finished Oman 0, Thailand 0. You are listening to Football Live.
You are listening to Football Live.
Who's enjoying AFCON so far? Yeah. NairaBet is increasing your chances of winning with a 500 Naira free bet every day during the African Cup of Nations. With an extra free bet added every time you back the Super Eagles to win. All you need to do is visit nairabet.com, bet on 3+ selections, claim your daily free bet. 18+. Free bet for backing your country applies to only when betting on the day your country plays. Minimum 3 selections, at least 1 selection on AFCON. Minimum odds per selection 1.2. Minimum bet slip odds 1.5. Free bet will be valid for 7 days. General and free bet terms and conditions apply.
I can tell you. No, I can't tell you anything.
Pity those poor North London supporters. Absolute chaos at the Etihad.
Yes, the goal has finally come.
Attack, attack, attack.
We've heard about the goat in the crowd. Is there a goal on the pitch?
Is Victor Osimhen with the goal.
And I'm sure most Chelsea fans out there listening will agree that that simply is not good enough.
We're zigzagging all over the United Kingdom.
And they've got to play 3-4-2. No, 3-4-3 looks like.
Football Live returns next Saturday on the Frequency of Champions, Brila FM. Ahead of the AFCON knockouts, we will be bringing you the very best FA Cup coverage.
All of the highest standard.
Can Africa-born manager George Elokobi cause an upset as non-league Maidstone United look to spring a surprise at in-form Ipswich Town?
And what a headache.
There are 3 other ties on our watch, including the All-Premier League clash at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United taking on last season's semi-finalists Brighton.
I think I ran back to the halfway line before anybody caught me.
Buckle up for a bit of Bundesliga too. Bayern Munich are in action. Can Augsburg stop Harry Kane and co?
Oh, it's just his studs right down his shin pad, isn't it?
Join us next Saturday, Football Live, back from 1:30 in the afternoon. FA Cup, AFCON, Bundesliga and more. We've got it covered right here, live on Brila FM.
You are listening to Football Live on Brila FM.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin. The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And a further goal to tell you about from the Vitality Stadium. And which way is this one gone? It's now Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 2. So Liverpool in the driving seat. A 2-goal cushion now. Diogo Jota with the second goal for Jurgen Klopp's side. And as it stands at the moment, they will be extending their lead at the top of the Premier League table tonight to 5 points. Let's cross now to Andrew Bonacore for news of that second goal for Liverpool. It's a long way back for the Cherries now, Andrew.
Absolutely, and to be fair, Chris, they've shot themselves in the foot here. Diogo Jota scores the second goal from Liverpool, but it was really just seconds after the ball was comfortably in the hands of the Bournemouth keeper. He threw the ball out. Bournemouth couldn't keep hold of the ball, lost possession in the centre of the park. The ball was knocked forward, and Darwin Núñez, I've got to say, his second half contribution 1,000 times better than his first half. Really battling and bustling, keeping the ball, plays the ball to Cody Gakpo, and Gakpo then releases Diogo Jota. Just one touch into the box. In fact, it's a first-time strike, and he hammers it low and hard down to the keeper's left, and the ball just pings it in off the post. Diogo Jota, a consistently high performer, kind of goes under the radar really at Anfield, but he's contributed well this season when he's not been injured, but he's back in the side now, had a decent performance today and contributed Liverpool's second goal to make it Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 2.
And Andrew, assuming that Liverpool hold on to this lead, it would be a 6th away win this season, which would match their tally for the whole of last season. Now, we know that they had a dreadfully disappointing season by their standards last season, of course, but they're looking in very, very good shape now, aren't they? Fighting on 4 fronts for trophies, but you would think that Jurgen Klopp certainly has his eye on that Premier League title.
Absolutely, and this has been I'd say an efficient display. They weathered the storm for 15 minutes or so, but Liverpool definitely on their way, and you feel, Chris, like they're really building something this season. As you say, last season was a disappointment, but this season they seem to be back, and Liverpool fans will be saying that Liverpool are back on track. One thing I would point out, though, looking at the Liverpool bench, with the injuries that they've got at the moment and the absences to AFCON and the Asian Cup, they do look very lightweight. I would question their squad depth, so that may be something that Jurgen Klopp needs to address in the January window. But yeah, in terms of the starting 11 and their primary subs, yeah, they've got probably enough strength in depth, but if they do suffer a few more injuries, I think they might kind of fade out towards the end of the season. But as you say, they're really building something, and this has been a fairly industrious but efficient victory. If it does stay this way against Bournemouth, they've basically weathered the storm and then done what they needed to do going forward, especially in this second half. So yes, I think the likes of Arsenal and Manchester City will be looking at Liverpool and thinking that they're there to be toppled off the top of the tree, and they're going to take some beating. But yeah, they seem to be doing just enough without wasting any energy or putting too much effort into victories. For example, the one during the week against Fulham. So as you say, fighting on four fronts and looking good, looking imperious in this game, getting better if I can say that in this second half. And I'm fairly certain that they'll take home all 3 points this afternoon.
Thanks very much, Andrew. Liverpool then still 2 goals to the good at the Vitality Stadium. They've got some interesting fixtures coming up. Of course, they have the second leg of their EFL Cup semi-final at Craven Cottage. Of course, Liverpool leading 2-1 from the first leg. And then next weekend, of course, the FA Cup 4th round, where they are at home to Norwich. And then back to Premier League action at the end of the month for Jurgen Klopp's side, at home to Chelsea. And then in the first weekend of February, wow, Arsenal versus Liverpool at the Emirates. We'll be looking forward to that. At the moment, all 3 points heading their way. They lead Bournemouth by 2-0. They've kicked off the second half of our featured match in Serie A. That's Salernitana against Genoa. About 2 minutes or so into the second half, it remains Salernitana 1, Genoa 1. And we'll be crossing over to our reporter, Mark Thomas, for an update very, very shortly on that match. Of course, we will be back with you next weekend. We're into the final half hour of this evening's edition of Football Live. But as I say, back next Saturday, of course, it is the FA Cup 4th round. Dean Kilford will be your host on Saturday, the 27th of January. Ipswich Town against Maidstone United in the FA Cup. That's the lunchtime kickoff. What a fantastic day out that will be for Maidstone United, of course, of the National League South. Some, 4 or 5 divisions or so below Ipswich Town. And a great afternoon out for their supporters. Elsewhere in the FA Cup 4th round, next Saturday, Everton take on Luton Town at Goodison Park. Leeds United are at home to Plymouth, and Sheffield United are at home to Brighton. We'll have all of those matches covered for you on Football Live on Brilla FM. And elsewhere, action too from the Scottish Premiership, with St Mirren at home to Rangers and Augsburg at home to Bayern Munich. And then, of course, further Football Live action to look forward to a week today, Sunday the 28th of January. Barry Swain will be in the hot seat as the FA Cup 4th round continues, with a plethora of matches to look forward to, including West Brom against Wolves, or Brentford, of course, in that fixture there. Elsewhere, Liverpool at home to Norwich. Watford at home to Southampton, an all-championship affair, that one. Looking forward to that. Southampton, of course, going very, very well at the moment in the championship. They won again yesterday at Swansea by 3-1. And at the moment, battling it out for an automatic promotion spot. And, of course, Watford challenging for the playoff spots as well. And, of course, as already mentioned, West Brom at home to Wolves in the Midlands Derby on Sunday as well. Looking forward to that one. All covered here on Football Live. And amongst that, we'll be covering Union Berlin against Darmstadt in the Bundesliga, Celta Vigo against Girona in La Liga as well. And League Earn action too next weekend, with Barry Swain on Sunday as Montpellier play host to Lille. That's all to look forward to here next weekend on Football Live. I can tell you that Saudi Arabia have taken the lead against Kyrgyzstan in the Asian Cup. Mohamed Kano with the goal there for Saudi Arabia. You will, of course, recall that Kyrgyzstan are down to 10 men after an early sending off in that game. They've got about 10 minutes or so of the first half remaining. It's Kyrgyzstan 0, Saudi Arabia 1. Right, of course, we have action taking place at the moment in Serie A. Our featured match is at the Stadio Arecci. Salernitana against Genoa, a match that's all level as the second half is underway. And let's rejoin Mark Thomas for all the latest news.
Thank you. We've got a very bright start to the game here. Salernitana, they're looking dangerous. And Frendrup and Bajelli for Genoa, they've both got a yellow card, incidentally, which out there against Lecce. 57% of the possession right now in favor of Salernitana, and they've had 2 shots on target, 3 shots on target for Genoa. It's very, very finely balanced. Hard to really make an opinion on who's going to score the next goal, but you get the feeling that whoever does will go on to win the game because it's balanced and tight. We've got 48 minutes gone here. It is Salernitana 1, Genoa 1.
Still level there. There's been another goal at the Vitality Stadium.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it looks as though Liverpool have sealed the points because they've scored a third. It's now Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 3 with about 10 minutes or so of the match remaining. Diogo Jota, who scored a brace now this evening. Liverpool lead by 3-0. And Andrew Bonacore will be furnishing us with all the details very, very shortly here on Football Live. But a convincing lead and the moment for Liverpool down there on the windswept south coast of England. They lead Bournemouth by 3-0. You're listening to Football Live here on Brilla FM. Just to recap the latest score in the Africa Cup of Nations. Zambia 0, Tanzania 1. They've just restarted that match there into the second half. 2 minutes into the second half. Zambia, of course, down to 10 men. Let's hear all about that third goal for Liverpool now from Andrew Bonacore.
3-0 Liverpool. Diogo Jota again, absolutely certainly this time seals the points for Liverpool. Somewhat fortunate, I'd say, for the Portuguese forward. The ball came in from the left. Darwin Núñez again contributing to a goal. Crossed the ball over and it went beyond Diogo Jota, went beyond everyone, in fact. But the ball came in again from the right, fell to the Portuguese. And he swung a boot at it, missed it almost completely, just scuffed it into the ground. The ball just popped up again and remained at his feet. He was, and suddenly he found himself in a little bit more space than he had for his original shot. But his shot the second time around was absolutely beautiful, really crisp. This time hammered it low and hard across the keeper this time. And let's just put that wing of the right boot first time around to an assist and attempt to make himself a bit more space. Slightly scrappy goal, but eventually beautifully taken by Diogo Jota. And again, a very efficient display by Liverpool because it was a Bournemouth attack and Liverpool dispossessed the Bournemouth striker on the edge of the Liverpool box and very quickly moved the ball forward to Darwin Núñez. And from there, all mayhem ensued and Bournemouth couldn't deal with the ball once it fell to Jota. So yes, an efficient display from Liverpool. They've certainly done enough. I would expect them to maybe take the foot off the pedal a touch for the final 10 minutes. But with just under 10 minutes to go, it's Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 3.
Yeah, you certainly would expect them to just maybe, as Andrew said, just decelerate a little bit now, especially ahead, of course, of that midweek clash with Fulham in their EFL Cup second leg tie, semi-final tie, of course, as they look to secure their spot in the Wembley Showpiece final, which will, of course, come up in March. But Liverpool 3-0 up at Bournemouth as it stands at the moment, looking for a fifth win on their travels this season. They've only been beaten once on the road this campaign as well. Let's just recap some of the other latest scores for you from matches currently in play in the German Bundesliga. It remains Borussia Mönchengladbach 1, Augsburg 2, with about 15 minutes or so remaining in that game. In Italian Serie A, in our featured game, as we know, it's still level. Salernitana 1, Genoa 1, 10 minutes or so of the second half played there. In La Liga, Barcelona are still 1-0 up at Betis. Ferran Torres, of course, with the goal there for Barcelona in the first half, about 6 minutes or so of the first half remaining. Girona play tonight at home to Sevilla. have an opportunity to leapfrog Real Madrid back to the top of La Liga. If they win, Real, of course, who came from behind 2-0 down to beat Almeria of the bottom side, of course, in La Liga by 3-2 earlier on. We had that match covered for you here on Football Live. And in AFCON, with about 5 minutes of the second half played, Tanzania still leading Zambia by 1-0. Zambia, of course, down to 10 men. And finally, in the Asian Cup, as they approach half-time, Saudi Arabia still leading Kyrgyzstan by 1-0. And Kyrgyzstan also with a one-man disadvantage as well, following an early straight red card in that match. Let's head back to the Vitality Stadium now, because, as suspected, a few changes being made there by Jurgen Klopp. Andrew Bonacore.
Yes, absolutely. The kids are coming on now. I said that Liverpool's bench was a touch light, and they've got quite a number of their academy production line coming on now, with Bobby Clark and Owen Beck has replaced Curtis Jones. Conor Bradley, who had his first start for Liverpool today, one of the products of their academy as well. So one youth academy product being replaced by another, and Curtis Jones looked to be limping off when he was replaced by Owen Beck. But a clear sign from Jurgen Klopp to Bournemouth that Liverpool consider the game to be over, and you'd have to agree with him. Liverpool very much in control of this game and looking to run the clock down. 6 minutes left until injury time, and it's Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 3.
Great opportunity there for the Liverpool youngsters then to impress, with Liverpool comfortably heading towards all 3 points there at the Vitality Stadium. I can tell you that in our featured match at the Stadio Arecci, a VAR check on a possible penalty there in favour of Genoa. It is currently Salernitana 1, Genoa 1, but VAR looking into a possible handball, which may see a penalty awarded to Genoa. In fact, I can tell you the penalty has been given. So Genoa with an opportunity to take the lead for the first time in that game. And we'll keep you posted on developments here on Football Live on Brilla FM. There is so much action to look forward to this week in the world of football. Tomorrow night, of course, Brighton and Hove Albion home to Wolves in the Premier League. We've already previewed that game with John Kane. They kick off tomorrow evening at 8:45. Goal news from the Stadio Arecci.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
Penalty converted by the Icelandic striker Albert Gudmundsson, and it is now Salernitana 1, Genoa 2. Salernitana 1, Genoa 2. Salernitana, of course, going into this match at the foot of the table, some 6 points or so adrift of safety, and having taken the lead in that game, they now find themselves behind, trailing by 2-1. And let's cross now to Mark Thomas for news of that goal. Disappointment for Salernitana, Mark.
Yes, the penalties sort of come against the run of play, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. It was Lavata that handled the ball in the penalty area, and Albert Goodwin, top scorer. He stepped up very, very calmly. And, well, he's just put the ball right down the middle. Ocho has dived over to his right-hand side, but a very comfortably, well struck penalty. So we have the lead. It's now Salernitana 1 and Genoa 2.
From the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
You are listening to Football Live. Live and exclusive on Brilla FM.
Join round the corner where the big boys play.
Who's enjoying AFCON so far? Yeah. NairaBet is increasing your chances of winning with a 500 Naira free bet every day during the African Cup of Nations, with an extra free bet added every time you back the Super Eagles to win. All you need to do is visit nairabet.com, bet on 3+ selections, claim your daily free bet. 18+. Free bet for backing your country applies to only when betting on the day your country plays. Minimum 3 selections, at least 1 selection on AFCON. Minimum odds per selection 1.2. Minimum bet slip odds 1.5. Free bet will be valid for 7 days. General and free bet terms and conditions apply.
Football Live returns next Saturday on the frequency of champions, Breela FM. Ahead of the AFCON knockouts, we will be bringing you the very best FA Cup coverage.
All of the highest standard.
Can Africa-born manager George Elikobi cause an upset as non-league Maidstone United look to spring a surprise at in-form Ipswich Town?
And what a headache.
There are 3 other ties on our watch, including the All-Premier League clash at Bramall Lane, Sheffield United taking on last season's semi-finalists Brighton.
I think I ran back to the halfway line before anybody caught me.
Buckle up for a bit of Bundesliga too. Bayern Munich are in action. Can Augsburg stop Harry Kane and co?
Oh, it's studs right down his shin pad, isn't it?
Join us next Saturday, Football Live, back from 1:30 in the afternoon. FA Cup, AFCON, Bundesliga and more. We've got it covered right here, live on Breela FM.
What on earth is this?
Coming up soon on Football Live, a brand new signing.
It's me. Richard Parr.
That's right, a brand new presenter, Richard Parr, will be joining Football Live, exclusive to Breela FM, this February.
Absolutely crazy. Chelsea are playing like champions, so we'd love to get your thoughts as well. Part of me thinks that was all absolutely orchestrated.
Football Live on Breela FM. You are listening to Football Live on Breela FM.
Let's get back to the action on Football Live. Powered by NairaBet. This is Football Live with Chris Baldwin.
Yeah, and welcome back to Football Live inside the final throes of this Sunday edition. I can tell you in La Liga, Barcelona had the ball in the back of the net, courtesy of Robert Lewandowski, but it's been ruled out for offside following a VAR check. Ferran Torres, of course, giving Barcelona the lead in the 21st minute. So Robert Lewandowski is denied as VAR comes to the rescue of Betis. It remains Betis 0, Barcelona 1 in La Liga. Right, let's head back now to the Vitality Stadium because we have reached stoppage time. Bournemouth against Liverpool, and Andrew Bonacore, an impressive display this afternoon from Jurgen Klopp's side.
Yes, very impressive. They've kept. They took the whole game in their stride, absorbed that opening 15 minutes or so of Bournemouth pressure. But I've got to say, Chris, Bournemouth just had an absolutely magnificent opportunity to get a goal back. David Brooks was put clean through, tried to just ping it past goalkeeper Alisson in the Liverpool goal, and he did manage to ping it past him, but also didn't manage to quite curl the ball around him, and the ball just sadly swung away. 8 minutes of added time shown by the fourth official, which is a bit of a shock. I can't work out where all that time has come from, but maybe Bournemouth can get a small consolation from this game. But yeah, as we've said, Chris, all afternoon, a very efficient display from Liverpool. They played within themselves, and at the moment they're going home with all 3 points and a very comfortable 3-0 win. It's still Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 3.
Let's cross back to the Stadio Arecci in Salerno. Salernitana looking to get back on level terms at home to Genoa. Mark Thomas.
Yes, it was very, very close indeed. They just hit the bar. What happened was Barney got fouled on the edge of the box there. It was so close. They did take a look at it for VAR to decide if it was in the penalty area, but the referee deemed it to be just on the edge of the box. A yellow card for that foul on Tchouchana. After the VAR check, we got the kick taken. Candreva absolutely underbolted it against the crossbar. Went through the wall, it seemed. They were there 1 minute, then they were gone. The ball was whizzing its way into the goal, but it hit the after we've got about 27 minutes left to go here. It's still Salernitana 1, Genoa 2.
The goals, powered by NairaBet.
And it's come once again at the Vitality Stadium. Is there a consolation for Bournemouth? No, Liverpool rubbing salt into the wounds because it's now Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 4 into the 3rd minute of stoppage time in that game. We'll be rejoining Andrew Bonacore very, very shortly. But a very, very convincing victory for Liverpool this afternoon. And they've added a fourth in that game. Tanzania remain 1-up against Zambia in AFCON. Of course, that Group F match, they've reached the hour mark of that game there. Let's head back now to the Vitality Stadium. News of that fourth goal for Liverpool, Andrew Bonacore.
Yes, fourth goal for Liverpool, second goal for Darwin Núñez, rounding off a pretty impressive performance from him, especially in that second half. But it was an absolutely wonderful cross from the Liverpool right by Joe Gomez. He managed to just float the ball beyond the entire Bournemouth defence, and Darwin Núñez ghosted in from the inside left channel. They will check it for VAR, but he looks good to me. And Darwin Núñez just sliding in and just guiding it past the keeper in off the far post with the outside of his right foot. Lovely finish by Núñez, but really the product of a fantastic ball over from Joe Gomez, adding a little bit of gloss to this performance. As if they needed any more gloss, it's Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 4.
Barcelona are leading Betis at the break. It's half-time there now. Betis 0, Barcelona 1 in La Liga. As I mentioned earlier, plenty of action to look forward to this coming week in the world of football, not least, of course, in AFCON. There is a match, of course, taking place later on this evening in a 9 o'clock kickoff in Group E, South Africa against Namibia. Earlier on today, of course, our featured match saw Morocco and the Democratic Republic of Congo battle out a 1-1 draw. And of course, as mentioned just a few seconds ago, Tanzania 1-up still against Zambia as they approach the hour mark in that game. Tomorrow, Group A, of course, the Super Eagles back in action once again when they face Guinea-Bissau and looking to progress through to the knockout stages. Of course, they secured that huge win against the Ivory Coast on Thursday as William Troost-Ekong converted the winner from the penalty spot to give them all 3 points there. And, of course, Ivory Coast face Equatorial Guinea. Both of those matches kicking off at 6 p.m. tomorrow, at 7 p.m. rather, tomorrow evening. And, of course, further action in the Africa Cup of Nations tomorrow in Group B. Cape Verde against Egypt and Mozambique against Ghana as well. They take place tomorrow. Both of those games kicking off at 9 p.m. Cape Verde really have made the headlines in this year's tournament, having won both of their opening matches in Group B. They, of course, beat Ghana. They've already booked their place in the last 16. They go through as group winners as Egypt and Ghana battle it out for second spot. As I mentioned, Cape Verde playing Egypt tomorrow. Ghana facing Mozambique. And, of course, I'm sure you're aware, Mo Salah will miss at least the next 2 matches following that hamstring injury sustained in the 2-2 draw with Ghana. So even if Egypt do progress through to the knockout phase, he will not be able to make it in time for that round of 16. But, of course, Egypt still with a lot of work to do to get that far. Elsewhere, Senegal, they're shaping up very nicely as well, having won their opening 2 matches in Group C. They've already qualified for the knockout stages. Cameroon have it all to do if they're to qualify at the expense of Guinea. Algeria, winners back in 2019, still without a win after their opening 2 matches. They drew 2-2 with Burkina Faso in Group D. Angola top the group at the moment following their 3-2 win over Mauritania. And, of course, yesterday's actions, Tunisia secured their first point of the tournament with a 1-1 draw against Mali. But, of course, it'll all be about the Super Eagles in action tomorrow against Guinea-Bissau. That match, as I say, kicking off at 6 p.m. in Group A. Final whistle has blown at the Vitality Stadium. And, in the end, a very, very convincing win for Liverpool. Here's Andrew Bonacore.
Yes, aside from a worrying opening 15 minutes, it was a very efficient win for Liverpool. Liverpool were fast, aggressive and positive during an excellent opening spell, but Liverpool wrestled back control of the game in a fairly uneventful first half that saw chances for Núñez and a very, very lucky Patrick Kluivert, who got away with the horrible studs-up challenge on Luis Diaz. Liverpool took control in the second half, enjoying 80% possession in the first 10 minutes. Darwin Núñez rounded off a lovely passing move for their first goal on 49. Then 2 Diogo Jota goals on 71 and 80. Wrapped things up before Nunez added a fourth with another tidy finish. So Liverpool go marching on, while Bournemouth gets something of a footballing lesson in converting possession into goals. Just finished at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 4.
And many thanks to our reporter Andrew Bonacore covering that match for us here on Football Live this afternoon. It means that Liverpool move 5 points clear at the top of the Premier League table on 45 points from Manchester City, who are back in second on 43 points, alongside Arsenal, of course. City in second spot by virtue of their better goal difference. Let's just quickly check in now with Mark Thomas and get the latest from the Stadio Arechi. Salernitana versus Genoa.
Salernitana, they're pushing forward because, they desperately need points. They're in last place in Serie A right now and facing relegation. So they really need to get something out of this game. But Genoa, they're holding firm. We've got a substitute for Salernitana. Castaños has come on. Besic has gone off, which is a bit surprising because I thought Besic and the other Croatian, Bradaric, were bossing everything in midfield. But he's gone off. And we've got about 20 minutes to go. It's still Salernitana 1, Genoa 2.
So Genoa still with the slight advantage in that game with a little under 20 minutes or so remaining. They're leading by 2-1, and it would lift them up to 11th spot in the table if they can claim all 3 points. It's Salernitana, though, who need the points, of course. But however, it looks as though they will be, regardless of whether they win or not, and it's still some way to go in that game at the moment, they will remain rooted at the foot of Serie A this evening. So from today's Premier League action, of course, earlier on today, Sheffield United 2, West Ham 2 is how it finished at Bramall Lane. Maxwell Cornet gave West Ham the lead just before the half-hour mark. Just before half-time, Ben Brereton Diaz equalised for the Blades. James Ward-Prowse converted from the penalty spot with about just over 10 minutes remaining to give West Ham the lead. And just as it seemed as though the points were going the way of West Ham, and following the sending off of Ryan Brewster for Sheffield United and also Vladimir Coufal for West Ham, Ollie McBurney scored from the penalty spot in the 103rd minute to give us a final score of Sheffield United 2, West Ham 2. And of course, as you just heard there, Liverpool beating Bournemouth by 4-0 at the Vitality Stadium. A couple of goals apiece from Darwin Nunez and Diogo Jota, and they move 5 points clear at the top of the Premier League table. And of course, just to recap yesterday's results in the Premier League: Arsenal 5, Crystal Palace 0, and Brentford 3, Nottingham Forest 2. That's just about it from us on this Sunday evening. Hope you've enjoyed the programme. We'll be back, of course, next Saturday, the 28th of January. It's FA Cup 4th round day. Once again, Barry Swain will be your host as we look ahead to Ipswich Town against Maidstone United, Everton against Luton Town, Leeds United against Plymouth, and Sheffield United against Brighton. Many thanks to my producer, John Kane. But from everybody here on Football Live, it's a very good evening to you. Bye-bye.
You have been listening to Football Live, exclusive to Brula FM, sponsored by NairaBet.